continued, your father and mother being able to produce two healthy children like you and your sister is a miracle. From the first generation on, each subsequent generation doubles the probability of monsters. By your generation, it's exponentially high. Put that probability into 10 parts, your father and mother had a 95% chance of producing mutants. You and your sister were almost 100% likely. Jiang Huai's face turned pale. He spoke emotionally, Mr. Qing, please save us. My sister is innocent. I cannot harm her. I cannot marry her. I only see her as a sister. I have no improper thoughts toward her. Qing Xiu looked strange. Mr. Jiang, please see your situation clearly. Now you are a fish on the chopping block. You ask me to save you? Are you joking? Jiang Huai pleaded, then kill me now and take my sister to Chang'an as hostage. Jiang Lufeng would never dare provoke you again. Hearing a brother willing to say that to protect his sister moved Qing Xiu slightly. He fell into thought. If only Jiang Huai is captured, his father Jiang Lufeng would likely choose the sister to continue the line and end up grieving a lost son. Retaliation is inevitable. From the 8 old Blazhong knife fighters guarding Jiang Huai, it's clear Jiang Lufeng cared deeply about his son. Qing Xiu has lethal skills to protect himself, but others in his party are ordinary. Even with many guards, vigilance lapses. They can't just hide in the village forever. But if Jiang Huai's sister is also captured, Jiang Lufeng couldn't continue the line. To avoid extinction, he'd hesitate to retaliate. Tu Qingshan said hidden sect has at least 8,000 disciples. One spittle from each can drown him. Expecting complete eradication is impossible, even with help. It's a 1,000-year underground organization with deep roots. Seeing Qing Xiu silent, Jiang Huai's heart raced. He looked earnestly, Mr. Qing, my sister is exceptionally beautiful. Could you let her be your concubine? Qing Xiu's mouth twitched, panicked. Hell, no thanks, I can't handle that. If she bears to form children, where would my face be? Even if Jiang Huai's sister was a goddess, Qing Xiu had no desire. Too horrifying. Must she really follow my mother's path? Jiang Huai painfully closed his eyes with tears streaming. Qing Xiu frowned, where is your sister? Jiang Huai after a moment lit up, my sister is at Yanmu study room. Yanmu study room is near the Jialing River and Western Han Water ferry crossing near Longzhong. Qing Xiu's mouth dropped open. He suddenly stood and tapped Jiang Huai's forehead with his blind staff, furious, are you joking? Mount Taibai to Longzhong is over 1,000 li. Am I so bored that I'd run 1,000 li to Longzhong to kidnap your sister? Jiang Huai excitedly said, Mr. Qing, 1,000 li is not far. We just need to go to the Jialing River ferry at the northern foot of Qinling. From there to Longzhong is 1 day by boat. Qing Xiu thought, then nodded, that idea is okay. We only need to go to Feng County to take a boat. But going to Chang'an would be troublesome. Fine. If it solves everything, I don't mind the trip. All right then. Qing Xiu said, with you, our speed is slow. I'll untie you. We go to Feng County first. If you try to escape on the way, I will cut off both your legs. Jiang Huai gratefully nodded repeatedly, okay, I absolutely will not run. If I can rescue my sister, even if you cut off my legs, or my head, I wouldn't frown. Qing Xiu untied him. Then he let the nanny goat feed the tiger cub area to fullness and then released the goat. Then the two ran like mad toward Feng County. Jiang Huai is also somewhat martial. Though his footwork isn't as good as Qing Xiu's, his speed is still not slow. At their current pace, they could reach Feng County in at most 2 days. He had long wanted to escape Jiang Liufeng's claws. Qing Xiu's arrival was a lifeline. He had no intention to escape on the road. Qing Xiu and his companion rested on a scattered rocky beach that night. In the darkness, they built a campfire. They roasted a wild rabbit sizzling with oil. The tiger cub area was suckling sweetly on the nanny goat's milk. Next to it were 2 lambs less than 1 month old. Qing Xiu took out the jar of wine sent by Su Xiaochun from his pack, ate a rabbit leg, and took a drink of the wine. He felt especially content. He hadn't had time to drink for days, and now finally he could drink a little wine to ease his fatigue. Smelling the fragrant wine, Jiang Huai swallowed with a gulp. He sincerely praised, the Marquis Qing's wine is intoxicatingly fragrant. Surely divine brew. To be able to smell such wine, this night is not wasted. If I could taste just a sip, it would be enough to comfort me. Qing Xiu sneered, want to drink? Go find your own drinking vessel. If it were a beautiful woman, he wouldn't mind tasting her saliva. But if it's a man, he wouldn't disgust himself. Jiang Huai immediately stood and asked, Marquis Qing, may I borrow your dagger? Use this. Qing Xiu took a dagger from his waist and tossed it to Jiang Huai. The staff blade was his life-saving tool, he couldn't let others casually touch it. This dagger was also sharp, forged by Wang the blacksmith, but not as good material as his staff blade. Jiang Huai took the dagger into the nearby woods. There was a bamboo grove. Qing Xiu wasn't worried he'd run. As long as Jiang Huai remained within his mental awareness, even if he had 2 more legs he couldn't escape. Soon, Jiang Huai returned with a bamboo tube washed at the riverside, and asked for about half a pound of wine. He took a sip, his pale face instantly reddened. Good wine, truly divine brew. Qing Xiu said, next, I ask and you answer. Please ask, Marquis Qing, Jiang Huai responded. Qing Xiu asked, you look young, no more than 20, but your martial arts are fine. How did you train? Jiang Huai answered, the hidden sect has a secret method called medicinal bath. It nourishes essence and blood, tempers flesh and bone, toughens skin and bones, enriches qi and blood. With external training, reaching my level takes at most 3 to 5 times. Qing Xiu asked curiously, but you're already this age. Shouldn't you be stronger? Jiang Huai's face reddened awkwardly. My sister and I do not like martial arts training. We prefer reading. So we hardly practiced. Reaching this level is entirely thanks to the effects of the medicinal bath. Qing Xiu raised an eyebrow. He was surprised at the medicinal bath's effectiveness. We reach Feng County, write down the method for me, he said. Jiang Huai smiled wryly, that might be okay. The medicinal bath and external training method are unspoken secrets of the hidden sect. Only successive sect masters know. Jiang Lufeng originally intended to pass the position to me. I heard the bath formula then. They chatted briefly. After half a pound of wine, Jiang Huai was already tipsy, staggering. He laughed, cried intermittently, and under questioning even revealed his ancestral tomb location. But he didn't let slip his father Jiang Liufeng's residence, because even he didn't know where his father was. His father Jiang Lufeng had always had no fixed residence, elusive like a dragon seen only head, not tail. By the time Jiang Huai was completely drunk, Qing Xiu retied him. Though harsh, it also prevented danger. A day later they arrived at Feng County's county seat. They found an inn for the night. After a good bath and clean clothes, Qing Xiu looked refreshed. He tossed Jiang Huai, still bound, into the inn. Then carried Tiger Cub area to the local magistrate's mansion. The magistrate of Feng County was named Han Damiao, about 60 years old. After servants notified him, he came out immediately to greet. Seeing him, Qing Xiu threw his identity token fish tally forward. After verifying identity, Han Damiao dared not be negligent. He bowed deeply, smiling, Your Excellency, traveling from afar, you're our guest. Please come in for tea. My tea was purchased from the Xinglong tea shop in Chang'an. Qing Xiu pulled from his sleeve a wax-sealed letter and handed it over. No need for tea. I have urgent business. Have someone deliver this letter to Chang'an, to my wife. 800 Li Express, deliver quickly. Also arrange a fast boat heading for Longzhong, ready at any time, and prepare 100 taels of silver. When your people arrive at my mansion, someone will return your silver. Han Damiao bowed again and commanded a servant, go to the account office, bring 100 taels of silver. Have Captain Li deliver this letter to the Marquis Qing's mansion in Chang'an, 800 Li Express, change horses not men, depart immediately, no mistakes. He was just a small magistrate, to a marquis, he was a lowly minor official. Feudal titles were high, officials without rank were just employees of titled nobles. The Li family was the greatest noble house of the Tang dynasty. For a magistrate, to gain favor with a marquis was certainly an ancestral blessing. Han Damiao wouldn't let pass this opportunity. Qing Xiu took down the cloth sack he carried. Han Damiao's eyes widened in shock. Your Excellency, this is a tiger cub? Qing Xiu placed area at his feet and said, also send it to my mansion along the way, to my wife. Any harm along the road, your county office is done. Han Damiao hastily said, absolutely. I will do my utmost to deliver the cub safely to your residence, Your Excellency. Anything else? Arrange for today's departure by fast boat to Longzhong. When ready, notify me at the post station. Qing Xiu declined Han Damiao's invitation and returned to the post station. First thing, he untied Jiang Huai. He seemed accustomed to being tied and had no complaint. Around midday Han Damiao had arranged a boat to depart for the Longzhong area. Tang Dynasty's shipbuilding wasn't as advanced as Ming's 1,000 years later, but it had a mature river transport system, suitable for downstream travel. Upstream required many haulers drawing the boat. Just as Jiang Huai said, water route was much faster than land. Downstream, by midnight they arrived at Longzhong, found a place to rest overnight. That night they made a plan. Their plan relied on timing and information gap. News of Taibai mountain events hadn't reached this area yet. Jiang Huai suggested they openly go to Yanmu study room. Yanmu study room wasn't in Longzhong's old city, but a few dozen li outside in a manor, a riverside estate. Among many farmhouses stood a secluded deep courtyard with finely constructed wooden pavilion. Before entering the manor, Jiang Huai softly said, "This manor is full of hidden sect people, about 300. Most are ordinary, not a concern. But there are over 10 martial bodyguards like my personal knife warriors, plus one offering of the sect stationed here." This time Qing Xiu did not wear his blindfold, making him appear like a normal person. Unless someone looks directly at his eyes, no one will notice he's blind. Jiang Huai continued, "My father imprisoned my sister here to force me to obey." Qing Xiu asked, "Since it's imprisonment, will it be hard for you to see her in person?" Jiang Huai shook his head with a smile, "Not difficult. As long as I don't try to take her out of Yenmu's study room, I can command anyone here. Entering will be smooth, but exiting might be difficult." Qing Xiu's lips curved slightly. Softly he said, "That is not difficult." With his nighttime abilities, quietly dealing with over 10 knife warriors like old Blazhang authoritatively isn't hard. Meanwhile, far away in Chang'an, old Blazhang had become Qing Xiu's measure of others. Armed with exceptional skill and fearless courage, Qing Xiu exemplified the saying, "High skill breeds boldness," to the fullest in this moment. Once they entered the manor, Jiang Huai could have raised his arm and summoned everyone there to kill Qing Xiu. Yet Qing Xiu chose to go alone deep into the estate. On one side, he was confident in his own strength. On the other, Jiang Huai was willing to risk himself for his insane mother and for his sister, thus earning Qing Xiu's respect. After several days of contact, Qing Xiu had found no weakness in Jiang Huai. And in fact, his minimal concern was unnecessary. Jiang Huai brought him to the village entrance, where several people approached warmly and respectfully. Clearly, Jiang Huai had visited here often before. "Young master." An elder scrutinized Qing Xiu suspiciously. "Why can't I see the 8 sword fighters the old sect master assigned you? And who is this stranger young master?" Jiang Huai calmly replied, "Uncle Zhaoan, I had them remain behind to protect my mother. As for him, he's not some ordinary young lord. He's a secret expert my father placed at my side. He could defeat 8 sword fighters without difficulty." Qing Xiu lowered his head, expression unreadable. Zhaoan squinted and said, "Young master, the old sect master instructed that the 8 sword fighters must never leave your side. One of them is my prized disciple. Why never have I heard of this person?" He studied Qing Xiu closely. Qing Xiu lifted his head, exuding intense lethal intent. Immediately, everyone's spirit sharpened, as if facing a grave threat. "Humph." Qing Xiu coldly said, "The old sect master's plan, is that something you can casually doubt? Those 8 wastrels, I could defeat them with a single blade. With me here, what use are they?" This was a bold, arrogant statement. Jiang Huai's lip twitched. "Big brother, do you need to be this arrogant as a bodyguard?" Zhaoan raised an eyebrow, his suspicion replaced by polite respect. He bowed, "Apologies. Since I have not met you before, I must confirm you truly are arranged by the old sect master." Qing Xiu half closed his eyes, unwilling to let others see the emptiness. He placed his hand on the haft of his staff blade. "Doubt the old sect master? I could kill you at any moment." Zhaoan flinched and quickly laughed. "Your Excellency, you misunderstand. I trust you. I spoke improperly, please forgive me." Jiang Huai impatiently said, "Uncle Zhaoan, he is a death servant trained by my father. I couldn't learn much from him. If you truly want proof, why not ask my father? My mother was seasick, so she took a carriage. She may take days to arrive. I intend to stay at Yenmu's study for some time. Please arrange as soon as possible." Zhaoan's face brightened. "Young master, you've decided?" Jiang Huai said, "Decided what? I came only to see my sister. Don't think too much, I'll anger myself." "Yes, yes." Zhaoan nodded quickly, dispersed everyone, then personally led the way. Along the path, he observed Qing Xiu carefully. When they reached the largest courtyard entrance on the estate, Zhaoan made a respectful gesture. "Please enter, young master. If you require anything, instruct someone and I will deliver it promptly." Jiang Huai nodded and led Qing Xiu inside. From Qing Xiu's God view perspective, he now completely covered the whole village, memorizing its layout, where guards stood, which paths led in or out. Seeing Jiang Huai and Qing Xiu enter Yenmu's study, Zhaoan's smile faded, replaced by gravity. He whispered to a young man beside him, "Immediately send someone to investigate if the old sect master arranged a death servant beside the young master. Also double the guard presence around Yenmu's study." The young man asked, "Master, why increase the guards here?" Zhaoan replied softly, "This young man at the young master's side is not simple. And everyone knows how filial the young master is. Previously he'd rather take carriage than water route, even if difficult, he'd travel with his wife. This time he came without her, something is off. Also, the person at his side wasn't notified ahead of time. All this suggests something suspicious. Better be safe. Yes, master, the young man responded, and Zhaoan glanced at the mansion before walking away solemnly. The estate was large, with ornamental rockeries, fish ponds with lotuses, fruit trees and seasonal flower gardens. The main pavilion was wooden, 3 stories, villa size. Though there were no guards visible outside the pavilion entrance, or indeed in the yard, these were illusions. Guard posts were placed every 5 to 10 steps outside. The pavilion entrance was tightly shut. Jiang Hui climbed the steps and knocked. A clear, pleasant voice asked, "Who is it?" Jiang Hui lowered his voice, "It's me, brother." "Brother?" The voice brimmed with joy. Footsteps sounded inside, then the door opened. "Brother, is it really you?" A girl of 18 or 19 looked surprised. She glanced quickly at Qing Xiu, then pulled Jiang Hui inside, slamming the door behind them. Qing Xiu opened his mouth to speak, then tilted his head and stood sullen. Jiang Hui's lips twitched. He gently freed his sister's hand and quietly said, "Sister, he's not a stranger. No need to leave him outside." He opened the door and apologized, "Sorry, sister, surely you mistook him for one of my servants." Qing Xiu walked in without concern. "You two talk. Don't mind me, I'll look around." He surveyed the surroundings and then focused on Jiang Yener. Even he, with his extraordinary self-control, nearly lost composure. Jiang Yener was breathtakingly beautiful, like a fairy emerging from a painting. Sky-drowning beauty, moonshine flower, enthroning beauty, none exaggerated. Snow-white skin, eyebrows like distant mountains, ink-dark eyes, carved nose and lips like jade, the mouth as if holding a shell. Hair black as a crow, styled in a young girl's bun. She wore a white long dress with a layer of goose-yellow silk. Waist tied, skirt flowing. Full bosom and shapely hips. Simply peerless. But Qing Xiu only observed briefly before shifting his attention elsewhere. Not because he lacked appreciation, but because such a woman mustn't be touched. The longer he looked, the more desire would grow. Better to treat her as untouchable, and so he remained distant and cold. "You two talk." "I'm fine here," he said, then rested his blind staff on a bookshelf. The shelf held few paper books, mostly bamboo slips and silk scrolls of age, plus rare curios. Jiang Yener watched Qing Xiu's back and frowned slightly, curious and puzzled. Why was this man different from others? When others saw her beauty, their gaze would linger, without exception. But he only glanced once, then ignored her entirely. She was even more puzzled by her brother's respectful attitude toward him. This was the first time since coming of age. She couldn't help but feel curious about this young man with the staff. Yet she said nothing more, merely treating him as her brother's guest. Jiang Yener sweetly smiled. "Brother, I've collected a few of Marquis Qing's poems I'm sure you've never heard. I wrote them down. Come quickly and take a look." Jiang Hui's lips twitched. He glanced at Qing Xiu's back, normally expressionless, now showing the faintest hidden smile. "Really? Marquis Qing's poems are unparalleled. I'd like to see those I haven't yet heard." So he followed his sister. Qing Xiu rubbed his face, resigned. Sometimes being plagiarized too much is a headache. Unexpected even this secluded lady had heard of him. Siblings who hadn't seen each other for a long time, Jiang Yener pulled Jiang Hui and chattered ceaselessly. "Brother, look at this verse. Peach blossoms grow in the Southland. When spring comes, how many branches bloom? I wish you'd gather more, this thing best evokes longing. It's so well written. This must be a poem Marquis Qing wrote for his wife." Jiang Yener looked starry-eyed, her gaze full of endless admiration. Jiang Hui half smiled and shook his head. "I truly haven't heard this poem. And there's this one." Jiang Yener picked up a piece of xian paper and read, "Water plunges straight down 3,000 feet. Suspecting it's the silver river falling from the 9th heaven. It feels majestic and full of imagination. A poet who could write such lines, Marquis Qing must be so bold and heroic. It's a pity the poem only has 2 lines. If someone could add lines, it would surely pass into legend." She sighed. "I tried to add a few lines, but none matched." Jiang Hui glanced at Qing Xiu, then narrowed his eyes with a smile. "Then why don't you recite the lines you added?" Jiang Yener's face flushed. She shyly rubbed her nose and whispered, "Maybe not. Compared to Marquis Qing's 2 lines, my additions might lower the poetic mood. I think you should recite. How can you write poetry if you don't let others hear? What's the point then?" "All right then." Jiang Yener blushed and took the paper, reciting softly. From afar the mountains all look different. Up close the river enters the sea. Water plunges straight down 3,000 feet. Suspecting it's the silver river falling from the 9th heaven. Jiang Hui clapped and laughed. "Isn't that great? Why such hesitation?" Qing Xiu, standing by the bookshelf, covered his face and sighed. Jiang Hui beamed. "Sir, why not add 2 lines yourself?" Qing Xiu replied without hesitation. water plunges straight down 3,000 feet is an exaggeration describing a waterfall's descent. What does that have to do with rivers? Jiang Yen'er blushed and said with some anger, that's why I felt awkward reading it. You seem to look down on it. If you're capable, why not complete the 5-line poem yourself? No. I don't compose poetry. I won't disturb your elegant mood. Pretend I don't exist. Jiang Huai persisted, sir, just add a couple lines, consider it a request from me. Let my sister have something to see. Something to see? Qing Xiu murmured offhand, the Lushan waterfall is famous worldwide. I suppose this poem is about that waterfall. Since you like it, I'll risk shame and offer it. Sunlight hits the incense burner, purple smoke rises. From afar the waterfall hangs before the river. Water plunges straight down 3,000 feet. Suspecting it's the Silver River falling from the 9th heaven. Jiang Huai shook his head with appreciation, experts when they speak, class shows. Sister, you must learn. Jiang Yen'er's lips parted. Her eyes flashed with astonishment. She withdrew inwardly, unhappy. She no longer felt like discussing poetry. Jiang Huai puzzled, sister, what's the matter? Why so suddenly unhappy? Jiang Yen'er self-mockingly said, I thought that even if I'm not a gifted poet, I had some talent. I didn't expect that the person you casually brought here has talent far beyond me. He casually completed those lines and stitched them seamlessly to the marquis's verse. I guess I was too arrogant. Jiang Huai laughed and suddenly whispered, sister, could there be a possibility that he is Marquis Qing? Jiang Yen'er shook her head in disbelief, stop teasing me, brother. Marquis Qing is in Chang'an thousands of li away. How could he suddenly appear here in Longzhong? And brother, she asked curiously, you always brought mother with before. Why didn't mother come today? Jiang Huai spoke quietly, I'll tell you everything that's recently happened. Just don't be shocked by anything you hear. All right. Jiang Yen'er nodded calmly. Jiang Huai lowered his voice, my father, Jiang Lufeng, sent people to arrest Marquis Qing. I was supposed to greet him at Mount Taibai. Marquis Qing is extremely skilled. Everyone in my father's group died except his disciple Tian Meng. Jiang Yen'er's face paled, he actually arrested Marquis Qing? Was Marquis Qing injured? Jiang Huai shook his head, he wasn't hurt. What's more, he tracked Tian Meng all the way to Mount Taibai, hid near my temporary lodging, and tied me up. Jiang Yen'er squinted, brother, you think I'm a fool? Tu Qingshan and Tian Meng are so powerful. They must have brought expert fighters. If Marquis Qing could force them into chaos, why would he let you go? If Marquis Qing is that powerful, you escaped him? Impossible. Jiang Huai smiled bitterly, that's exactly why, I couldn't escape. Jiang Yen'er indignant, and now you bring him here to Yanmu study? Even if you couldn't escape, why bring him? Jiang Huai looked at Qing Xiu but said nothing. Jiang Yen'er suddenly froze, her eyes wide. She stared at Qing Xiu and swallowed with a gulp, he is Marquis Qing. Without a doubt, Jiang Huai nodded. Jiang Yen'er panicked, brother, since father wanted to arrest Marquis Qing, he surely won't give up easily. You brought Marquis Qing here, but if father captures him, Marquis Qing won't escape. Yanmu study is heavily guarded. If you hadn't brought me, you could have let him out. Before father discovers, quickly take Marquis Qing away. Do not let him fall into his grip. She looked worriedly at Qing Xiu approaching them. Suddenly she frowned and asked, brother, Marquis Qing is blind, right? Why, how can he see? Jiang Huai explained, Marquis Qing can't see, but his hearing is extremely sharp. He locates by sound, just like a normal person. Along the road he's caught wild pheasants and rabbits that I didn't even notice. Qing Xiu now approached and sat down. He took a piece of black silk from his robe and skillfully blindfolded himself. Immediately his blindness became unmistakable. Jiang Yen'er parted her lips, even more surprised, but there was also excitement and bashfulness. Up close she saw Marquis Qing was far more handsome than she imagined. There was no scholar softness about him, only a tempered strength and aura of decisive killer. Qing Xiu quietly said, long story short, your brother begged me to come here to rescue you. Rescue me? Jiang Yen'er's expression panicked, no? I don't want to be rescued. You'd be killed. Father has many here, killer experts. Some as skilled as Tu Qingshan and others. Her face reddened, showing tender shyness, thank you Marquis Qing for wanting to rescue me. I am deeply grateful. But this is too dangerous. I cannot, for my own sake, cause Marquis Qing to die here. She solemnly rose and bowed, please Marquis Qing, do not take risks for me. Please leave this place with my brother as soon as possible. Qing Xiu waved his hand coldly, I've decided. Death won't shake me. Now hear my plan. Tonight, you two pretend to have a joyful banquet and drink yourself drunk, raise the spirits of the guards outside. At midnight, I will silently eliminate all the nearby guards. Then I will take you two and leave for Chang'an. No, don't. Jiang Yen'er lightly bit her lip, her eyes filled with concern. That's too dangerous. If Marquis Qing dies because of me, I will never be happy again. Qing Xiu said coldly, you have no right to speak here. I don't need your concern. Speak again, and I'll break your brother's legs. Jiang Huai's corner of the mouth twitched. She won't listen, yet threatens to break my legs? Since when does that make sense? Qing Xiu was deliberately cold because he sensed the sister's concern had a hint of fangirl attachment. To prevent her becoming another one of those crazy fans, cold ruthless rejection was best. Otherwise, if she insisted on giving him malformed children, who the hell could bear it? Sure enough, Qing Xiu's coldness made Jiang Yen'er feel very wronged, and even a bit afraid of him. Exactly what Qing Xiu intended. Jiang Huai sighed in his heart. He had hoped to match his sister with Marquis Qing, but Marquis Qing was indifferent, even resistant. So he let go of that idea. Marquis Qing said coldly, the plan is set. Do as I say. You two talk, don't disturb me. He sat by the bookshelf, holding his blind staff in silence. Jiang Yen'er watched him for a while, full of disappointment. She tapped Jiang Huai gently and whispered, brother, during these days you've spent with Marquis Qing, has he always been this cold? After 2 seconds silence, Jiang Huai nodded, yes. He and his wife are deeply in love. His heart has no room for another woman. Yen'er's eyes again filled with envy and sadness. Jiang Huai continued, originally, only his wife was captured. Marquis Qing risked himself as a hostage to exchange for her. Otherwise, with two Qingshan's people, they'd never be his match. Sister, I know you admire Marquis Qing's talent, but he's impossible for you. So you really should let that idea go. Yen'er opened her mouth but said nothing. She only bowed her head quietly, feeling low. Time passed slowly until night finally came. Jiang Huai asked Wang Zhaoan to deliver some food and wine to the study. Moments later, the brother and sister's laughter filled the pavilion. Outside, Wang Zhaoan wandered in the courtyard for a while. A young man beside him said, Master, the young master and miss are talking very happily. With them sharing drink like this, they'll easily become drunk. I think, they might make a match tonight. Wang Zhaoan smiled and nodded, perhaps I worried too much. Even if the young master resisted the old sect master's arrangements, Miss Yen'er's beauty, he's a young man with strong passion. Drunk, he'd lose control. But perhaps this is his ruse. As long as they haven't shared a room, the young master might take her away. We mustn't let our guard down. Zicheng, tonight you personally stand guard, no slack. Yes, master. Wang Zhaoan departed. Su Zicheng stood guard at the gate. About an hour later, Jiang Huai, reeking of alcohol and swaying, came to the courtyard gate. The gate was open. Seeing Jiang Huai drunk, Su asked politely, young master, are you leaving? Leaving? Jiang Huai laughed, I hardly see my sister. I'm not even tipsy yet. Leaving? Zicheng, where's your master? Su replied respectfully, master retired for rest. He asked me to keep watch here. Jiang Huai patted Su's shoulder, go fetch some wine. Bring it in yourself. It's been a while since we met. Drinking with just the two of us is boring, you come drink with me. Young master, I'm afraid that's not appropriate. Jiang Huai frowned, what's wrong with drinking with me? I won't let you get drunk. What? Are you afraid I'll drug you? Su shook his head quickly, of course not. You provided the wine yourself. If you drugged it, how could I not notice? Jiang Huai laughed, very well. Go get it. Relieved, Su left. Jiang Huai turned back into the pavilion, but as he did, a darker sense appeared on his face. Su returned with 2 jars of wine at the gate and hesitated before telling the gate guards, I'll go and have a drink. Come back in half an hour. If there's anything, call me. The armed guard nodded, go ahead, brother Su. Our brothers here will watch, no issues. Su entered Yenmu's study briskly. He understood courtly truth, although his master served the elder sect master, everyone knew the elder sect master's high rank. The position of sect master would soon pass to the young sect master. Dealing with the young sect master might be his path to power. As he went through the door, it was Marquis Qing himself who opened it. Qing Xiu took the wine and coldly said, I didn't expect the young master would invite a servant in to drink. Su frowned, why don't you join we drink too? Jiang Huai shook his head, he's on duty. Let him stay sober. Zicheng, sit here, let's drink. Yes, young master. Su approached, excitement in his step. But as he moved to sit, a chill washed over him. His expression changed, he reached for his blade. Before he could act, he heard a pft. Suddenly his world inverted, the ground whirling. His face smashed into the floor, his head rolling. Su Zicheng never understood what killed him. Marquis Qing caught the body and gently laid it down. Inside the pavilion, Jiang Yen'er turned pale, covered her mouth to quiet sounds, her body trembling violently. She had never seen such a bloody, terrifying scene. At the flash of the blade strike, she shut her eyes tightly. Qing Xiu flicked the blade and whispered, "A moonless, windy night for murder. You two keep your laughter, Marquis Qing is back." He strode out of the pavilion, circled behind, and lightly leapt to the wall top. The guards were lax here, this was the best infiltration point. In the black night, others could not see him, but he knew each sentry's position. He moved along the wall, avoiding reed stake traps, came behind a man, pressed a hand over his mouth, and silently took another life with the staff blade. Reed stake traps made noise themselves when stepped on. In this pitch-dark night, even the guards relied on hearing to locate intruders. Unlike Marquis Qing, who had a god view, nothing escaped him. Nearby came a voice, "Brother Bao, I'm going over there to take a leak." "All right, careful not to step on traps." "Don't worry, I know their spots." The man stopped about 3 meters from Marquis Qing. It was too easy. Marquis Qing stepped swiftly, covered his mouth, and took another life silently. He paused and urinated. After finishing, he strode toward Brother Bao's spot. Brother Bao heard the noise and grumbled, "Drink less water at night in the future." "Sorry, Brother Bao," Marquis Qing responded. "Huh?" Brother Bao puzzled, "Why does your voice sound different?" Marquis Qing didn't answer. Instead, he stood beside Bao and said, "Brother Bao, do you know the Liangyu Ice House?" "Liangyu Ice House? What's that?" Bao asked, confused. Qing Xiu suddenly covered Bao's mouth and plunged his dagger into Bao's neck. "Breathe deeply, relax, it's fine, soon it's over." He gently laid the body down and moved toward the next target. Thus he worked for the time of an incense stick, silently clearing all guards around the courtyard. Now only scattered night watchers in the village remained, around 30. Qing Xiu moved swiftly, the night no hindrance. Wherever he passed, a scent of blood and horror followed. 2 incense sticks later, all night guards were eliminated. Although once nearly discovered, it passed without harm. Everything went far more smoothly than expected. When he returned to Yanmu's study, he was stained with blood. Jiang Yen'er stared at him blankly. Jiang Huai anxiously whispered, "How is it?" Marquis Qing coldly said, "All night guards are taken care of. Come with me." Without waiting, Marquis Qing picked up each sibling and ran out. It wasn't that the siblings lacked speed, it's dark, they couldn't clearly follow the path. That slowed them down. Once they had some distance from the village, Marquis Qing released them. Jiang Huai and Jiang Yen'er both laughed, tears in their eyes. Their hearts full of gratitude toward Marquis Qing. Wang Zhaoan, though over 70, never skipped his morning martial exercises. When the sky turned pale at dawn, he was already dressed and stepped outside to train. Just as he left, a disheveled knife fighter burst into the courtyard, panic in his eyes, shouting loudly, "Master Wang, it's terrible, the night guards around Yanmu's study are all dead." "What?" Wang Zhaoan's heart leaped. Grabbing the knife fighter by the collar, his eyes reddened, he roared, "Say it again." The knife fighter hurriedly replied, "I got up to pee and smelled blood. When I went outside, I saw corpses around Yanmu's study. It's ruined, what a disaster." Wang Zhaoan's face turned grim. "Where are the guards posted around the village?" "I don't know. I didn't have time to look. As soon as I found the bodies, I came to inform you. Quickly gather everyone at the gate of Yanmu's study, hurry." Moments later, the knife fighter began sounding drums and bells throughout the village. Before long, dozens of villagers had gathered in front of Yanmu's study. The atmosphere was oppressive, everyone looked grim. Wang Zhaoan emerged, holding a severed head in his left hand and a headless body in his right, grief etched on his face. Is this Zicheng?" Someone recognized him. Zicheng was Wang Zhaoan's favored disciple. Wang Zhaoan gently laid Zicheng's body on the ground and, burning with anger, spoke, "The young master took Miss Yen'er away. If Miss Yen'er is not found, everyone here, including myself, will die." At these words, the crowd panicked. Wang Zhaoan continued, "Split into 4 groups to search. Also notify all hidden sect members along the way. Miss Yen'er must be found within 3 days. If there is news, report back immediately." Several knife fighters then organized 4 teams and left the village. But 3 days passed swiftly. As each team returned empty-handed, the news brought no trace of Jiang Huai or Jiang Yen'er. Wang Zhaoan's mood collapsed. After sealing himself in Yanmu's study for 2 full hours, he finally opened the door with resolute determination. To the knife fighters he said, "You come with me to Bajong to see the old sect master." Their faces turned solemn. They understood, if Jiang Huai and Jiang Yen'er weren't found, they faced death. Soon more than 10 riders set out. Langzhong was less than 1,000 li from Bajong. 2 days later, Wang Zhaoan and his team arrived. Bajong, in the Sichuan region, was mountainous, with farms irrigated by streams. After the first harvest, irrigated fields looked like tidy grids, like salt ponds. Halfway up a hill, Jiang Lufeng lay on a straw mat beneath a tree. A small table was piled with seasonal fruits, served by young maidservants. Dusty from travel, Tian Meng recounted the news from Marquis Qing. In Jiang Liufeng's cloudy eyes, a longing shone. He appeared elderly and frail, age spots marked his skin. A keen observer would estimate he had only a few years left, at most 3 to 5. Tian Meng said, "Old sect master, that's all I know." Jiang Lufeng trembled with excitement. "So immortals truly exist. Mortals can ascend. White Jade Capital truly exists. I've finally found the chance for longevity. It's not too late. All is still possible. Ha ha ha." At that moment, a barefoot, peasant-clothed middle-aged man approached respectfully. "Sect master, Wang Zhaoan and his knife fighters have arrived." Jiang Lufeng remained calm. He wasn't at Yanmu study guarding Miss Yenner. Why would he come to Bajong? "Bring him here." "Yes." The barefoot man returned soon, bringing Wang Zhaoan. He and over 10 knife fighters knelt simultaneously. Jiang Liufeng's face darkened. "Zhaoan, explain this." Wang Zhaoan bowed low and calmly said, "Sect master, I deserve death. Miss Yenner was taken by the young master." Jiang Lufeng narrowed his eyes and waved dismissively. "Understood. Stand up." Zhaoan paused, then asked suspiciously, "Sect master, losing Miss Yenner means I deserve death, yet you won't kill me?" Jiang Lufeng smiled faintly. "After all, it was Marquis Qing's action. I don't blame you." "Marquis Qing?" Zhaoan asked. "I've never met Marquis Qing." Jiang Lufeng looked at Tian Meng, gesturing he retell the events. Tian Meng did, and Zhaoan was stunned. "So the young man with the staff beside the young master is Marquis Qing?" He was perplexed. That young man looked normal, how could he be blind? Zhaoan continued, "It was my fault that Miss Yenner was lost. I should retrieve her. I'll take men to Chang'an at once. I will bring the young master and Miss Yenner back." But Jiang Lufeng smiled and spoke with disappointment. "No need. I helped them find the path to immortality, but they discarded it like trash. If they choose to remain mortals, so be it." Zhaoan was stunned. "You mean you won't pursue them?" Jiang Lufeng laughed. "The Jiang family has passed down hopes of White Jade Capital for generations. Now I have the path. Why cling to bloodline inheritance? If I attain immortality and youth, who will worry about heirs?" Zhaoan excitedly asked, "Sect master, you already know the way to White Jade Capital?" Jiang Lufeng nodded, through Marquis Qing's words. Zhaoan's lip twitched. "Sect master, aren't you afraid it could be false?" Jiang Lufeng shook his head earnestly. "It's true. Marquis Qing speaks only of things that genuinely exist. He knows harsh land features from personal experience. He's no imposter. Not an immortal's disciple, how could he know?" He rose slowly. "Do not concern yourself with Jiang Huai or Jiang Yenner. If they don't want immortality, let them be. Shiqing, summon all hidden sect experts inside and outside. In 20 days, depart using Marquis Qing's path to White Jade Capital." His face shone with excitement. Shiqing hesitated. "Sect master, we must first find the sacred artifacts Marquis Qing mentioned before we can go to White Jade Capital. And by the Mid-Autumn Festival we must climb Mount Komalangma. Will you go?" Jiang Lufeng responded devoutly. "The path to immortality must be risk-free. My heart is sincere. If lacking sincerity separates me from the path, what a waste." Shiqing nodded slowly. "Yes, I will arrange it immediately." Meanwhile, on the official road toward Guangzhou, Marquis Qing and the two siblings rode fast. For 5 days straight without rest, they'd covered nearly 800 li. Chang'an was now only over 200 li away. Marquis Qing's chin was stubbled. Jiang Huai was exhausted, black circles under his bloodshot eyes, hair untidy, body grimy, stubble found on his jaw. He looked deeply worn. Jiang Yenner, unaccustomed to hardship, looked somewhat fatigued, but her spirit was bright, joy lighting her expression. "Marquis Qing, there's a horse team ahead." Jiang Huai tapped his whip toward dark figures in the distance. Marquis Qing glared at his blindfold and scoffed, "Telling me is pointless, I can't see." Jiang Huai looked embarrassed. Yenner covered her mouth quietly in amusement. Though dusty and weary, her beauty was undiminished. Marquis Qing regarded her briefly with appreciation. Though dangerous to touch, pleasing from afar was acceptable. Because the horse team was far, Marquis Qing did not notice. He licked his cracked lips and said, "After days on the road, we're exhausted. Let's catch them and rest in their cart for a while. Let's go." The three rode to join the horse team. There were over 10 carts piled full and covered with gray cloth. Each of the 40-plus riders carried bulging bundles. The leader was a large bearded man. Seeing them approach, he halted and watched warily. Jiang Huai dismounted and cupped his hands. Brother, may I ask if you're heading to Chang'an? The bearded man eyed him cautiously. Who are you? Why ask? Marquis Qing came forward also and cupped his fist. Brother, we are merchants heading to Chang'an to trade. We were attacked by bandits. Our goods, gold, silver, and silks, were all stolen. Everyone but the three of us was killed. We've been chased for 5 days and nights with no sleep. We're utterly exhausted. We hope to rest in your cart. We promise we'll leave before darkness and not cause trouble. They were not poor, they just knew hidden sect spies were everywhere. If their stop was discovered, they'd be surrounded at night. Better to avoid inns altogether. The bearded man studied them closely, Jiang Huai's bloodshot eyes and exhaustion, Marquis Qing's worn appearance, Yenner's subtle fatigue, all convinced him. And only 3 travelers, no threat. He gritted his teeth and said, damn bandits. We also suffered an attack and lost many brothers. Since you two are unfortunate and only seek rest, and you're merchants, it's only right to help. He pointed to the carts. These are long-grain rice shipments from Chengdu to Chang'an. Lying on them isn't hard. If you don't mind, make do on top. Thank you. Marquis Qing dismounted and climbed into a grain cart, lying down. He said to Yenner, you've rested more these days. Now bear with it. Wake us in the afternoon. Jiang Yenner hesitated, then pouted privately, how little he knows what chivalry means. Jiang Huai didn't hurry inside. Instead he asked the bearded man, brother, is your rice cargo Chengdu to Chang'an? Rice wasn't common in Tang due to poor yields, mostly grown in the south. Long grain yields were only a few hundred jin per mu. Imported rice to Chang'an sold at luxury prices. The bearded man shook his head, we're not rice traders. Farmers entrusted these to us to sell. We're headed to Chang'an to buy goods. Oh? Jiang Huai asked, what goods? The man smiled, tea isn't secret. I may as well tell you. We intend to visit Lantian County's count in Chang'an. From Marquis Qing, we plan to purchase tea to ship back to Chengdu to sell. Upon hearing this, Marquis Qing's lips twitched, the Jiang siblings exchanged subtle, peculiar smiles. The bearded man added, recently, a small merchant in Chengdu sold tea that flew off the shelves. In Chang'an tea sells for 10 taels silver per jin. But in Chengdu's black market it fetches 50 taels per jin, yet still scarce. Jiang Huai stared at Marquis Qing with curiosity. He was about to speak when Marquis Qing impatiently snapped, still not sleeping? Sleep, sleep, sleep. Jiang Huai shrank his neck and jumped on board, immediately falling asleep. From the start, he feared Marquis Qing. With recent rebukes, his fear only grew. When summoned, he obeyed like a lackey. The bumpy road made the carriage ride extremely rough. Although they couldn't sleep deeply, the jolting gave their weary spirits a much-needed rest. When Qing Xiu woke up, dusk had nearly fallen. He stretched and noticed the caravan leader had set camp in a deserted area, and a few were already preparing a meal. Jiang Huai and Jiang Yenner sat beneath a tree. They weren't speaking, but one could sense their uncertainty about the road ahead. Qing Xiu habitually produced a black silk cloth from his sleeve and expertly tied it over his eyes. The bearded caravan leader, Yang Kuei, surprised, approached and asked, young brother, why are your eyes covered? Qing Xiu didn't hide it. He yawned and replied, I'm blind. I'm used to covering my eyes. I worried about being recognized on the road, so I didn't wear the blindfold. Now we're in the Guangzhou heartland, it's safe. Yang Kuei looked incredulous. At that moment Jiang Huai walked over with a smile, brother Yang, he truly is blind. Yang Kuei asked in confusion, but I saw you riding fiercely this morning, you can't be blind. Qing Xiu pointed to his ears, though my eyes are blind, my hearing is very sharp. I navigate using sound. Jiang Huai smiled calmly, don't be fooled by his blindness. With sound-based positioning, he moves like anyone else, if not more proficient. Yang Kuei didn't believe it. He waved his hand before Qing Xiu's eyes. Qing Xiu gently pushed the hand aside and walked directly to where the cooking was happening, shocking Yang even more. Approaching the cooking area, Qing Xiu saw some villagers dumping a heap of ingredients into a large iron pot. He halted them. Stop! Stop! What are you cooking? A young man impatiently replied, we're cooking stew with sauce. After a day's journey, everyone's starving. Step aside, when it's done, I'll give each of you a bowl. Qing Xiu shook his head, that just ruins the food. They were stirring a dark, unappetizing broth with a pungent smell, a real, dark cuisine. Yang Kuei walked over and said, young brother, let them cook, the whole group is hungry and waiting to eat. Qing Xiu grudgingly walked away, planning to share this dreadful meal. They'd be home before nightfall tomorrow anyway. It wouldn't matter much. But Jiang Huai grabbed Yang Kuei's arm, eyes shining, no, brother Yang. Don't look down on him. He may be blind, but his cooking skill is second to none, no one surpasses him. Rubbing his hands, he looked at Qing Xiu and laughed softly. Sir, please don't let them ruin the food. My sister and I haven't eaten properly lately. If you have time today, could you please improve our meal? Qing Xiu had insisted on being called only Sir and not Marquis Qing. To avoid recognition, Jiang Huai had come to call him that habitually. The cook, scornful, sneered, "What, a blind man cooking? He can't even see, do you think he can cook? You're joking." Jiang Huai proudly retorted, "Don't be so stubborn. Why don't you let him show what he can do?" Qing Xiu frowned and pulled Jiang Huai along. "Forget it. Just wait for the meal." But the cook refused. He dropped the big iron ladle into the pot, hands on his hips, and challenged, "If you're so capable, come cook then, let's see what you can make." Yang Kuei glared at the cook. "Get back to cooking. We don't have time for nonsense." After Qing Xiu and Jiang Huai walked away, Yang Ke whispered, kicking the cook and scolding, "You fool, these people's identities are unknown. You let them cook, aren't you afraid they'll drug us and steal our silver?" The cook recoiled, repeatedly apologizing. Soon, the meal was ready. Yang Kuei had someone serve 3 bowls to Qing Xiu's group. Qing Xiu sniffed the bowl, it smelled odd. He sipped the broth, his expression instantly twisted. A swirl of sour, sweet, bitter, and spicy flavors flooded his mouth. Jiang Huai and Jiang Yan'er looked disgusted and set their bowls aside, deciding to go hungry. Qing Xiu couldn't stand it. He dumped the contents and approached Yang Kuei. He tossed down a silver ingot worth 5 taels. "Brother Yang, may I borrow your stove and ingredients?" Yang Kuei saw the generosity, tucked the silver away, and chuckled, "5 taels can buy a full stove set, you're welcome. If it breaks, don't expect me to compensate." Then he returned to eating the dark cuisine with relish. Qing Xiu walked over to Jiang Huai and kicked him lightly. "Stop standing around, come help." Jiang Huai, unbothered, brushed off dust and smiled as he followed. Jiang Yan'er, curious, joined also. Though she'd never tasted Qing Xiu's cooking before, she'd heard stories, how he once borrowed a restaurant kitchen in Feng County and whipped up midday dishes that had Jiang Huai belching from overindulgence. She wanted to see what delicacy this Sir could prepare. Qing Xiu rummaged in the caravan's food supplies. Finding lotus root as long as an arm, bok choy, cucumbers, celery, coriander, wheat flour, radish, scallion, ginger, garlic, even chives and eggs, his face lit up. The prior cook had dumped everything into a pot of dirty water, stewing vegetables with sauce and cooking rock-hard bread. That wasn't food, it was hazardous cooking. Qing Xiu handed Jiang Yan'er a wooden bucket. "Get some water from the river." Nearby, a stream flowed clean enough. Yan'er, slightly annoyed, took the bucket. It was the first time she'd ever been told to fetch water. Before long, she had the water. Using daylight before dark, Qing Xiu kneaded a large mass of dough, mixing in scallion, pepper, and fine salt. A voice nearby exclaimed, "Fine salt? Good heavens, you actually used fine salt?" Yang Kuei suddenly appeared behind them, stunned to see Qing Xiu holding a small pack of refined salt. Yan'er asked puzzled, "It's just salt, why the fuss?" Yang Kuei sighed, "Just salt? Miss, you must live in luxury, never touched real hardship. Refined salt costs 500 won per jin. Pure, impurity-free fine salt like this easily costs 1 guan, and it's almost impossible to buy. So to be honest, I used to sell coarse salt for the government. That yellow-black salt was precious. Bandits captured salt blocks and celebrated for weeks. If you carry such rare goods, it's no wonder they'd want to rob you. I'd have robbed you too." Qing Xiu ignored him and added pig fat to the pan, starting to fry flatbreads. Within a short while, several fragrant flatbreads emerged. Nearby, villagers crowded around, mouths watering. They had never seen food cooked this way. Usually they got dry, cracker-like flatbreads that could chip teeth. He wasn't done. Qing Xiu stir-fried the celery, then scrambled chives with egg. He sliced cucumber and dressed it with garlic and dark vinegar. Though tang vinegar wasn't refined like later eras, it was standard seasoning. Some poor families lacking salt would ferment vegetables or pickle cucumbers just using vinegar. He blanched some spinach and lotus slice, sprinkled garlic, and poured hot oil over it. With a sizzle, the aroma drew audible pops of saliva. When finished, he washed his hands, sat before the cutting board, rolled sleeves up, and ate. Jiang Yan'er didn't hold back either. Ignoring proper lady decorum, she grabbed a flatbread and bit into it with eyes closed in pure delight. Jiang Huai clapped Yang Kuei on the shoulder. "Brother Yang, calling it waste was too mild, they were wasting ingredients." Watching the three gorge, the caravan members glared at Yang Kuei resentfully. A few irritable men began kicking and punching the caravan cook, shouting obscenities. "How dare you feed us pig slop? You ruin food, this is destroying food. If you don't cook properly tomorrow, I'd rather starve than eat your poison. You. The next morning at first light, eager to return home, Qing Xiu rose early, skipped breakfast, bid Yang Kuei farewell, and rode off swiftly with Jiang Huai and Jiang Yan'er. By evening they finally reached Sanha village. Even at dusk, Sanha village was bustling, more lively than any place they had seen, with people moving about and no sign of vendors packing up. Jiang Huai gazed ahead at the red brick and grey-tiled village in awe. Sir, is this your manor? Shock flickered through Jiang Yan'er's eyes. Since age 9, she had been confined to Yanmuzhai and hadn't stepped outside for 10 years. Her only amusement was reading, writing, playing flute, and practicing zither. Busy with travel and avoiding detection, she hadn't even visited a populated village until now. Suddenly arriving in such a lively place felt like entering a whole new world. Yes, this is my estate. Jiang Huai replied excitedly. After years of wandering, even visiting Chang'an twice, I've never seen such a vibrant village. This village's lively spirit was exactly what he had dreamed of. If only we could bring mother here, Jiang Huai said, his face darkening. Jiang Yan'er shared his unspoken longing. They both felt keenly the pain their mother suffered within the hidden sect. They didn't expect Qing Xiu to rescue her. After all, she and her children were also captives and technically enemies. Qing Xiu dismounted at the village gate, led the horse into the main street of Sanha village, followed by Jiang Huai and Yan'er. He approached a cold-skin noodle stall and called out eagerly, Mrs. Sun, 3 portions of liangpi, quick, I'm starving. Mrs. Sun, Iguzi's grandmother, was over 60 but nimble. Qing Xiu had taught her the preparation of liangpi, and though she was a homemaker by background, her noodles rivaled those of later generations. She lacked only spicy flavor. Sure, 3, she peered, struggling to speak, swaying on her feet. She leaned on her cart and tears welled up. Dear Lord Qing, is that really you? The temple deity answered my prayers. I prayed every day for your return, and here you are. Her shout silenced the street instantly. People from nearby villages pointed, villagers and merchants swarmed around him, faces brimming with emotion. Elder women cried on seeing their daughters-in-law unmoved, calling them ungrateful while beating them into tears. Sir, you're finally back. I knew a virtuous man like you couldn't be lost. That yellow donkey lied. Those villains kidnapped you, thank heaven you're safe. Sir must be hungry, quick, get him something to eat. Let me tell Lady Qing, you're home. I'll go too. Several women dashed toward Qing Xiu's home, some losing shoes in the rush. Sir, here's your rujiamo. Lu Old 3 brought a tray with 7 or 8 steaming meat sandwiches. Uncle Lu, thanks. Qing Xiu said and grabbed one immediately, offering 2 more to Jiang Huai and Yan'er. They had ridden all day without meals and were dizzy with hunger. Each held a sandwich, greedy and slurping oil. The siblings were obsessive about cleanliness, they didn't care about gravy dripping, they were that famished. Old 3. Mrs. Sun scolded, Sir asked for liangpi, and here you're serving so many meat sandwiches, will he even eat mine? Despite her words, Mrs. Sun worked quickly rolling liangpi. Soon Qing Xiu was tearing into both liangpi and rujiamo with vigor. Elderly women watched with tears. Oh, he suffered so much out there. Those bastards deserve no peace. Eat slowly, drink some pine needle water. A woman brought bowls of pine needle water. Jiang Huai, coughing, grabbed his drink, no questions. Upon sipping, it fizzed like popped beans in his mouth, lighting their faces. Eating the sandwiches and liangpi, sipping needle water, Yan'er's eyes reddened, she wept as she ate. Jiang Huai frowned, little sister, why cry while eating? Yan'er sobbed, brother, this place feels like paradise. I think this is the real Bayou capital. Jiang Huai paused, smiling softly. Master. A familiar voice called. The crowd parted. Su Xiaochun, with teary eyes and a slightly swollen belly, rushed forward. Qing Xiu supported her gently, don't rush, don't upset the baby. She was 3 months pregnant, her belly visibly larger than weeks before. Darling, Su Xiaochun sobbed. Yunyang cried at her side, but didn't force her way. Qing Xiu beckoned them close, don't stand there, come here. He held one under each arm. Villagers smiled, they all knew and respected Yunyang's identity. He belched, wiped tears off Su Xiaochun's face, and said, this many people seeing this, stop crying. He addressed the elders, thank you all for your care. Everyone's busy, please disperse. Only then did people reluctantly scatter. Master. Zhang Laodao and Ma Iri approached. After half a month of recovery, old Ma's complexion was better and his spirit restored. He knelt immediately, it was I, old Ma's fault, that you fell into the thieves' hands. I'm ready to pay with my life. Qing Xiu lifted him, old Ma, it's not your fault. No need for that, just be more cautious. He saw in old Ma's eyes that he felt guilty. Qing Xiu reassured him, recover your strength, there'll be a chance to atone. Old Ma bowed, thank you for your mercy. Qing Xiu glanced at Jiang Huai and Yenner, then told Lao Dao, Old Knife, arrange lodging for them in Ling village. They're skilled, assign watchers so they don't run off. Jiang Huai's lips twitched in quiet resentment. Yenner was upset too, but reminded of her status, a captive brought in, she let it go. After all, their contact was brief, and hostility expected caution. Once she realized that, her anger dissolved. Su Xiaochun surveyed Yenner and, startled by her beauty, nudged Qing Xiu and quietly asked, Darling, where did you find such a beautiful young lady? Planning to take her as a concubine? Strangely, she wasn't jealous, but asked matter-of-factly. Yenner's face instantly reddened. Qing Xiu shook his head decisively, don't be absurd. I won't take her as a concubine. Let's go, there's more to do. He led Su Xiaochun and Yunyang off. Su Xiaochun glanced at Yenner multiple times. Lao Dao seemed to sense something, sternly summoned over 100 guards, assigned lodging for the siblings, and he personally stationed outside their courtyard. Every guard did the same. It was a transformation born from this ordeal. Brother. Jiang Yenner had red eyes, her face full of refusal and deep unhappiness. Sitting in the yard staring blankly at the stars, Jiang Huai looked at her. Noticing her complex expression, he asked with concern, Little sister, what's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? Yenner shook her head, then looked up and swallowed back her tears. She sat silently beside Jiang Huai on the small folding bench. Ever since Qing Xiu introduced these little benches to the village, they had become fashionable everywhere. They were comfortable to sit on and greatly preferred over kneeling on legless wooden planks. Even villagers from nearby areas embraced them. Palace eunuch Ling Er had also ordered many made for use in the palace. After a long silence, Yenner finally spoke. She sounded deeply wronged. Brother, why is Sir Qing treating me like this? I never said I had to marry him. Why is he so cold toward me? You said he and his wife are very affectionate. But these days I discovered he's not dull or uncaring, and his wife doesn't seem opposed to him taking a concubine. She even encouraged it just earlier. But then why does he treat me this way? Yenner's voice trembled with tears. Am I that ugly? Jiang Huai sighed heavily, then spoke softly. Throughout history, no man dislikes a beautiful woman. Little sister, you are not ugly, in fact, you're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. In all these years, I've never seen anyone whose looks surpass yours. So why does he behave like that? His expression twisted in pain as he said, It's because of our bloodline. What does our bloodline have to do with it? Jiang Huai succinctly recounted Qing Xiu's earlier explanation about genetic issues. Yenner's face went pale, she trembled with fear. He said in exhaustion, This isn't divine punishment, nor some consequence for purity, but the inevitable result of near-relative childbirth. Sister, whether it's you or me, having children is not possible in this life. I once foolishly hoped that after leaving the hidden sect, I could live a simple life with someone I truly loved. But if what he said is true, I might never be able to touch a woman again. Sir Qing doesn't want to risk mythical births, of course he keeps his distance from you. I see now. Yenner's tear-filled eyes looked mournful as she whispered, So it's our Jiang bloodline's fault, he fears monsters. Jiang Huai stood up, rest early. Brother, Yenner suddenly said, I want to stay in this village. I like it here, and I don't want to leave. Given the villagers' sincere warmth, this place felt like a pure land to her. Jiang Huai smiled faintly, Of course you can stay. But he sees us as prisoners, at least now. I believe with time, he'll accept our living here. Yenner nodded firmly. Suddenly they heard rapid hoofbeats, both startled. Yenner whispered anxiously, Brother, father wouldn't have sent people to find us here, right? Jiang Huai shook his head, unlikely. This is Chang'an, under the emperor's feet. Jiang Lufeng is not mad enough to start a public search like that. Just then, torches flared outside. A pair of mounted guards rode in, torches blazing, escorting Ling Er straight to Qing Xiu's gate. Upon hearing the noise, Qing Xiu rose from inside the courtyard and stepped to the gate. A few simple dishes and wine sat on the table. He had anticipated Ling Er's arrival at any moment. Ling Er rode in impeccably dressed, dismounted, and raised a salute. Qing Xiu laughed warmly. I knew it, Marquis Qing is blessed by heaven. Your return was just a matter of time. Your Majesty. Qing Xiu bowed, please enter. Ling Er shook his head with a smile. No need, I only came to confirm you have indeed returned safely. You and your wife haven't seen each other in half a month. I expect you have much to discuss. They say absence makes the heart grow fonder. I won't interrupt you, ha. Qing Xiu replied calmly. Everything that needed to be said has been said. I knew your Majesty would come. I have prepared a modest drink in this humble home. Ling Er nodded. In that case, I won't fuss. Led on. They entered the courtyard together. Small dishes were neatly set on a side table, and a brazier on a wooden rack lit the area. They sat across from each other. Ling Er, curious, asked, Marquis, how did you escape from the bandits? Tell me the story. Qing Xiu then recounted the events, including the situation of Jiang Huai and Yener, though he omitted mention of the incestuous marriage details. Ling Er stood, circled Qing Xiu twice in astonishment. Truly remarkable. When Yin Yaoyin and Yu Qigong first told me, I had doubts, but now I believe completely. Truly you, even blind, leading a lone force and slaying enemies deep in enemy territory, this is not common skill. I think sight is already irrelevant for you. Qing Xiu deflected. No need for praise. Your Majesty has other matters to address? Ling Er resumed his seat, expression turning serious. Not sure if it relates to you, but recently, the 5 clan families and the 8 great houses of Guanlong move frequently in Chang'an. Some have even visited your estate. I have a feeling something unwanted may occur. Qing Xiu frowned but remained silent. Even he couldn't understand their frequent presence in Chang'an. Ling Er continued, in any case, Marquis, remain alert. If trouble arises, send word to the palace, I will provide full support. Oh. He shifted tone, smiling. When Yin Jijie and Yu Qijingda went searching for you in the Qinling, they found 2 women bound and left to wolves. They are now imprisoned in the Dali Temple prison. Marquis, how do you intend to deal with them? They're still alive? Qing Xiu was startled. They really have strength. He looked to Ling Er. Your Majesty, what punishment do you see fit for kidnapping marquises and nobles? Ling Er pondered, then said, these 2 are from Miao villages, where ungoverned tribal lands exist. Miao power near Nanjiao is significant. Despite decades of efforts, Tang officials often fail there. Bandits kill officials regularly. Mountain warfare is unfavorable. Clearing them would take tens of thousands of troops. I had those 2 women questioned by Daizhou. Marquis, you may not expect it, they hold high status in the Wuzhu ancestor sect. Ling Er added with a sly smile, one elder woman is the senior sister of the sect's holy maiden. When the head master dies, the holy maiden succeeds. Her disciple would become the next holy maiden. Qing Xiu grew alert, but told him to speak plainly. Ling Er chuckled. Consider this, the holy maiden's junior sister has been captured. The senior sister cannot ignore this. If your Majesty were to release or ally with the holy maiden, controlling Miao clans numbering hundreds of thousands would become easy. Qing Xiu immediately understood. Ling Er aims to support a puppet within the Wuzhu sect to destabilize Nanjiao's tribal leadership and dismantle their coalition. Having understood the meaning in Ling Er's words, Qing Xiu nodded and said, Your Majesty, that is indeed a good method. In the Nanjiao region there are many barbarians who act recklessly and often ambush Tang merchants traveling to Tufan. If this trouble can be resolved, it would surely be a good thing. Ling Er asked, Marquis Qing, how do you think I should proceed? Qing Xiu understood that controlling a woman most directly would be through a certain questionable muddy path. Knowing that if he said that, his reputation would be destroyed, he merely smiled politely and said, Your Majesty could moderately make use of the power of beauty. Ling Er's eyes widened in surprise, then his face turned red and he replied displeasedly, I am the emperor, ruler of the realm, how could I do something so improper? Qing Xiu laughed inwardly in disdain, thinking, keep pretending. After all, who killed his elder brothers and claimed his sister-in-law and younger brother's wife? He dared only think that in his heart, if he spoke it out loud, Ling Er would probably raise his sword at him first. Ling Er frowned and said, Marquis Qing, is there truly no other method? Qing Xiu shook his head, Your Majesty, this matter cannot be rushed. In Nanjiao there are thousands of tribes yet unconquered. The first thing you must do now is improve the living standards of Lixing, fill the treasury, strengthen the army, surpass these small regions, and once national power is strong, you can deal with them at any time. Ling Er nodded. What Marquis Qing says is most wise, indeed I have forsaken the great for the small. He leaned close, lowering his body and voice to speak quietly. Marquis Qing, you previously mentioned a plan to eradicate the Dou clan root and branch. In recent times, papermaking and movable type printing have made major breakthroughs. Is your plan now feasible? Qing Xiu considered and said, Preparation can begin. Ling Er was excited. Tell me, how can I assist you? Qing Xiu smiled faintly. Tomorrow I will have Qing Ke deliver a letter to the palace. Once your Majesty reads it, you will understand. Though Ling Er's curiosity was intense, he did not ask more immediately. He was filled with anticipation. Your Majesty, I have an improper request, I beg your Majesty to grant it. Ling Er feigned displeasure. Marquis Qing, what words are these? You have made such a great contribution to these generations of Lis, what request could I not fulfill? Speak, as long as I can do it, I will not disappoint you. Qing Xiu sighed, after my lady was captured, I realized that without a group of highly skilled guards, such matters may recur. I wish to personally train a guard corps separate from the household troops. Will that be permitted? Li Er nodded. Even if you did not propose it, I would still arrange a guard squad. Qing Xiu shook his head. No need for that. If your majesty approves, I wish to recruit personally. Li Er did not insist and said, my guards and those of the retired emperor are seasoned experts numbering a dozen or two. Marquis Qing, do you plan to train 10 or 20? Qing Xiu shook his head. I do not have that much time to waste. I only mean physical training need not be very strong, so long as they can be equipped with fine weapons. Li Er nodded generously. That's no problem. How many do you plan to train? Too many would not be acceptable. Your Majesty, how many do you think is suitable? Qing Xiu threw the question back. Li Er pondered, then said, 100 elite men, trained secretly. If exposed by official critics, you risk being accused of raising a private army and plotting rebellion. Qing Xiu's heart leapt and he bowed. Thank you, Your Majesty. I will strictly control the numbers. The recruited will not exceed your limit. This matter shall be conducted in secret. I will not allow any official to catch a hint. Li Er suddenly felt something was off, though he could not pinpoint what. After several more cups of wine, he rose and returned to the palace. The next morning, before breakfast, Qing Xiu found the village head, Li Taicheng, and assigned him a discreet task. Li Bo, help me find 999 young men between 14 and 18 years old, preferably good-natured, honest, simple, and determined. Ideally from relatives of veteran household troops. Remember, it must be done secretly. Li Taicheng was stunned and asked, trembling, what do you want so many for? You're not plotting rebellion, are you? The thought made him sweat coldly. If another person plotted, he could dismiss it, but if this blind youth rebelled, it might succeed. Qing Xiu frowned. Stop saying rebellion every time. I have asked directly to Your Majesty. You just recruit. Also, I designed a blueprint for a building yesterday. Find a construction team to build the structure. He pulled a precise architectural blueprint from his bosom and handed it over. Li Tiecheng's eyes nearly popped out. Blowing his beard, he said, you say you're not rebelling? This is a building almost the size of the palace. Are you not building your own palace? The plans were only for communal dormitories for 1,000 people and indoor training grounds, nowhere near the palace scale. After tough reassurance that he would not rebel, Li Taicheng finally went off to arrange the work. At home, Yunyang had already prepared breakfast. At the table, Su Xiaochun sipped millet porridge and asked, Husband, last night you spoke with the emperor about those 2 female prisoners. Are they the 2 women from the group who took me? Qing Xiu nodded. Su Xiaochun's expression grew complex. She began to speak but then paused. He said, Wife, speak plainly. She then spoke cautiously. Those 2 women were not bad. During the Qinling journey they took care of me. Husband. Stop. Qing Xiu's voice grew dark. Xiaochun, put aside your feminine compassion. If you feel kindly toward others, be prepared that harm may follow. I will not endanger us for a stranger's kindness. Su Xiaochun lowered her head and whispered, Understood, husband, I will do as you say. Oh, and Yunyang, ask the cook to prepare 2 more breakfast portions. Yunyang wiped her lips and stood to give the order. A moment later, Qing Xiu, blind staff in right hand and lunchbox in left, with a cloth pouch from which a small tiger's head peeked out, walked toward the courtyard where Jiang Huai and Yenner were held. They had been up for some time, sitting listlessly in the yard, clearly confused and tired. Seeing Qing Xiu approach, Jiang Huai rose quickly and asked tentatively, Marquis Qing, how long do you intend to keep us imprisoned in this small courtyard? A year, 2 years, or until we die of old age? Yenner also looked anxiously at him, noticing the small tiger in the pouch and unable to resist teasing it. Qing Xiu simply set breakfast on the table, and placed writing implements there too. He said, After you eat, write down the method for the medicinal bath. As for how long I will detain you, at least until I feel that the hidden sect no longer poses a threat to me. Jiang Huai's expression fell and he forced a bitter smile. Well, all right then. Qing Xiu chuckled, and how long did you think I'd imprison you? Jiang Huai managed a bitter grin. You asked me for the medicinal bath formula, which suggests you intend to train a cadre of skilled warriors. That process takes a long time, at least 3 years. So, I suppose you intend to detain us for at least 3 years, maybe 10. Yenner went pale, biting her lip and lowering her head in sadness, but soon she relaxed, as she had already endured 10 years of confinement in Yanmuzhai and was accustomed to dull captivity. Eat quickly. I await the medicinal bath formula. Qing Xiu simply sat down at the table. The siblings no longer hesitated and began their breakfast. At that moment, a strong figure entered, the servant Xuanzi. But before he could speak, Qing Xiu raised his hand. I know. Xuanzi looked bewildered. Marquis, I hadn't said anything yet, how did you know? Qing Xiu smiled calmly. A merchant caravan arrived in the village. The leader is a big bearded man who came asking to see me, is that correct? Xuanzi's eyes widened in shock, as if seeing a ghost. When Yang Kuei led the merchant caravan into the village, Qing Xiu had already observed them from an all-seeing perspective. Yang Kuei sat on a small wooden stool by the gate, as though on pins and needles. When he saw the gatekeeper bring someone inside, he hurriedly stood up and went out. Once he recognized the visitor, Yang Kuei's face filled with shock. This, how could it be you? Qing Xiu smiled but said nothing. Xuanzi introduced the guest. This gentleman is my master, the Marquis. If you have anything, feel free to speak. Yang Kuei's mouth flew open, sweat at his temples. Suddenly his legs gave way and he knelt down trembling. My lord Marquis, I did not know you were the Marquis at the time. On the journey I surely offended you in many ways. Please, disregard this humble man's faults. Qing Xiu extended a hand and pulled him up. Let's be honest, there is no offense when we speak equally. Elder Yang, please come to the manor and we shall chat. He handed over the tiger cub, Arya, to Xuanzi, who took it away to feed it milk. After sitting down, Qing Xiu said, Elder Yang, no need to be cautious. Feel free to speak. Yang Kuei stood and cupped his hands. Marquis Qing, I suppose you already know my purpose. I came to purchase tea. How much do you plan to buy? 1,000 jin, all jade guanine variety, Yang Kuei cautiously replied. Qing Xiu smiled faintly and Yang Kuei immediately corrected himself. 1,000 jin is too much, 300 jin would be fine. Qing Xiu shook his head. Not too much, too little. What can you do with 1,000 jin? At most that's 10,000 taels of silver. Yang Kuei first sighed in relief, then grimaced. I'm a small merchant in Chengdu. I sold my assets to gather 10,000 guan. 1,000 jin is the absolute limit. I hoped I could ship one batch before the big merchants arrive, and make some profit for my family. Qing Xiu thought a moment and said, Elder Yang, you traveled far from Chengdu to Chang'an, bringing only 1,000 jin won't earn much even on the black market. How about this? This household intends to develop tea trade in earnest and recruit agents. I see you as honest and reliable. Would you consider becoming a tea agent? Yang Kuei looked puzzled. Marquis, what does that mean? Qing Xiu explained, you would pay a deposit, take large shipments to Chengdu to sell, and be granted exclusive agency rights there. After sales, you remit payment. What do you think? Blood rushed to Yang Kuei's face, he gulped and dared not speak. You really would let me alone handle Chengdu's tea sales? Qing Xiu smiled. If you manage tea well, you might also handle liquor. No rush to answer now, you can check liquor market at Qinglong Wine Shop in Ani Lane, Chang'an. No need. Yang Kuei shook his head excitedly. If you trust me, why doubt you? This is the opportunity of a lifetime. But how much tea can 10,000 guan buy? Qing Xiu held up 2 fingers. Yang Kuei nodded, 2,000 jin would be good. Qing Xiu shook his head, not 2,000, but 20,000 jin. Yang Kuei's eyes turned red. He trembled, you truly plan to let me take 20,000 jin of tea? To trust a person is to use them without doubt. If I say 20,000, it's 20,000. Yang Kuei suddenly knelt on one knee, arms braced. Since you trust me, I will open the Chengdu tea market for your service. I can't promise wealth, but if you trust me, I will bring you a mountain of silver from Chengdu. Stop kneeling all the time, Qing Xiu said. Yang Kuei rose and asked, Marquis, when can I take the tea? He was impatient at this point. Qing Xiu shook his head, no hurry. The quantity is large, please wait patiently 10 or 15 days. Yang Kuei cupped hands, I'm staying at the courier in 10 li east of Chang'an's East Gate. Once the tea is ready, simply send someone to notify me. I'll bring the silver at once. Qing Xiu did not detain him. Yang Kuei left Sanha village at top speed. In truth, Qing Xiu did not lack tea, he had stored hundreds of thousands of jin this season and was still stocking up. Tea sells out by winter morning. He planned this way to prepare coin exchange between Chang'an and Chengdu. Just as he was thinking of the silver exchange, Li Tai arrived. Seeing Qing Xiu, the little boy burst into tears. Sir, you've finally returned. I feared you'd never come back. Qing Xiu ruffled the 8-year-old's head and smiled. Qing Ke, it's been over half a month. How is the silver exchange coming along? At mention of silver exchange, Li Tai brightened, wiped his tears, and pulled out several sheets of fine xian paper covered in patterned marks and Chinese numerals, 100 taels, 500, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, 50,000, 100,000. He held a 100-tael note and gently folded it into two. "Sir, these notes are made from bamboo fiber and silk as you instructed. They're sturdy and last." Qing Xiu felt the paper. It was light yet had the texture of currency and the strength of silk. He saw the anti-counterfeit watermark and nodded in appreciation at Li Tai's intelligence. Li Tai beamed with pride. "Sir, I punched square holes in one sheet and aligned them, the seal mark of Chang'an Bank, of the issuing bank, private seal, and an Arabic numeral code unique to each note. Even if someone copied the seal, they still can't replicate this paper." Qing Xiu nodded. "Though complex in handling, this system resists forgery. Like the various anti-counterfeit marks I imagined, but your system is excellent and can be used. For Tang-era technology, such anti-forgery combining material, seals, and Arabic numerals would be nearly impossible to fake." Li Tai, praised, was delighted. Qing Xiu asked, "And talents regarding silver exchange, how are your recruits?" Li Tai sighed, "Sir, I've only trained about 20 so far. That's not enough." Qing Xiu smiled, "That suffices for now. Let's begin a few pilot offices, one in Chang'an, one in Chengdu. Earlier I hosted a merchant who can help promote the exchange." Li Tai asked, "Shall I arrange production of more notes and send some people to Chengdu to open a silver exchange office?" "Yes, but consider the details carefully." "Of course, won't let you down." "Wait." Qing Xiu stopped him as he turned to leave and handed him a letter. "Give this to your father. Have 1,000,000 copies printed exactly as written." Hearing 1,000,000 copies, Li Tai was startled, then cautiously put the letter in his satchel. Then Qing Xiu sent Erguzi out with a procurement list for items targeting the Dou family. Soon, Li Tai returned to the palace and delivered the letter and message to Li Er. Inside the throne hall, Li Er eagerly opened the letter and read. Cold sweat appeared on his forehead and his pupils shrank. He gasped inwardly, trembling. This letter was a hot potato. Empress Zhangsun, noticing Li Er's distress, came forward. "Your Majesty, what has happened?" Li Er handed the letter to her in a grave tone. "This is the method the Marquis has proposed for eradicating the entire Dou family." After reading, Empress Zhangsun was shocked and uneasy. This is too ruthless." Li Er gave a bitter smile, his face full of hesitation, because the letter's content was frightening even to him. Half a month after leaving home, the area of Sanha village expanded again. Li Taicheng, as the village head, had a good business sense. More and more families from surrounding villages moved to Sanha village every day to make a living. Expelling them all was not the style of Sanha village, so he simply allowed all these relocated families to stay. However, the condition was that, whether men or women and children, they had to be put to work in Sanha village's production and industry. Any outsider was assigned a small brick tile house courtyard and paid 100 copper coins per month for working there. After 3 years, they would gain exclusive ownership of the brick tile house. Qing Xiu was not worried about losing money. Original villagers who worked in construction earned more than 1 guan coin a month. 100 copper coins was just a drop in the bucket. The value these relocated households created far exceeded their cost. Once the policy leaked, word spread quickly. Outside the village there were crowds every day. Qing Xiu didn't expel anyone. Any capable worker who could create value was allowed to stay. As the harvest season of drought-field crops arrived, grain tax plus commercial tax made the Tang government treasury more prosperous than ever. It nearly matched 30 times the previous year's revenue, a testament to the wealth of merchants. The permu taxation policy was also fully implemented. For the common people, this was a monumental benefit. Li Er openly credited the policy's originator. This led many people to go in groups to the palace to pay homage. Many also came to Sanha village to express gratitude, bringing lavish gifts. Qing Xiu's prestige in Guangzhou grew day by day. With the treasury flush with silver, Li Er recently issued a decree, starting from around Chang'an, implement new rural construction modeled exactly after Sanha village, building rows of brick tile houses. The areas near Chang'an welcomed fresh vitality. Of course, the treasury would not fund everything for free. Anyone wanting a brick tile house had to pay taxes for 3 years and personally participate in the construction. Thus the treasury truly implemented, taking from the people to be used by the people. After sending off Li Tai, Qing Xiu did not rest. He and Su Xiaochun and Yunyang went to the vegetable field to harvest ripe chili peppers. By noon, all chilies had been picked and placed in the courtyard where the sun could dry them. At lunch, Su Xiaochun's remark nearly broke Qing Xiu's composure. She put down chopsticks, tilted her head and said seriously, "My lord, when do you intend to send the betrothal gifts to the Changsun household?" Qing Xiu sprayed his meal and began coughing. Yunyang poured water and gently patted his chest to help him breathe. After a while, Qing Xiu recovered and croaked, "When did I say I would marry Miss Changsun?" Su Xiaochun smiled demurely. After you went to Qinling, Miss Changsun came the next day. If we hadn't stopped her, she would have rushed into Qinling to see you. It's clear she truly likes you. In the past half-month, she's come to our house almost daily. Miss Changsun is a good person, and I already agreed if you come back she will come propose. Qing Xiu curled the corners of his mouth and said sternly, Wife, you go from day to day without reason. How can you casually agree to this? Besides, did I ever say I wanted to marry her? Su Xiaochun giggled, if you don't want to go, wife and Yunyang can go propose. It's unprecedented for a woman to propose. If word spreads it's humiliating for you. Qing Xiu waved a hand, I've been busy. When did I have time to marry? We'll talk later. Yunyang started to speak but stayed silent. Qing Xiu slapped Yunyang's plump butt. Her firm curves quivered briefly. After striking, he complained, you've gotten fat recently, your bottom barely fits on the stool. Speak quickly or fart quickly. Yunyang blushed, shyly pushing him, Master, go. Miss Changsun said her father does not mind her becoming a concubine. As long as the 3 sets of media and 6 sets of rights are proper, it is legitimate. Su Xiaochun added, Yunyang and I will go to Chang'an this afternoon to buy the betrothal gifts. This matter should be done sooner rather than later. You must go tomorrow morning. Qing Xiu grumbled, are you two trying to force me into marriage? I've been away half a month. When did you take control of the house? Su Xiaochun and Yunyang merely giggled and discussed the gifts to prepare. Qing Xiu angrily slapped the table, hey! Are you two even listening? Su Xiaochun said, we should prepare 1,000 jin of tea, 1,000 jin of apricot flower wine, a bolt of silk, 2 boxes of gold and silver utensils. The Changsun family is prominent, 3 media, 6 rights, can't do without face. Yunyang added, yes, and betrothal gift boxes, betrothal cakes, 3 sacrificial animals and livestock, a presentation box, etc. She listed a long series. Su Xiaochun laughed, Yunyang, you know so much? Yunyang giggled, the other day, Scholar Zhang married Lu Tigan's daughter in the county, he sent exactly that set of gifts. I memorized it. Our household is also prominent, if master takes a concubine, we can't be sloppy. Qing Xiu, red-faced, yelled, this is rebellion. You're rebelling. They didn't take his anger seriously. Offended, Qing Xiu stormed out. He inspected all the workshops in Sanha village until dark before returning home. That night, he grew angrier and disciplined Yunyang thoroughly. By the time he finished, Yunyang was sweating and satisfied. Su Xiaochun, annoyed, said, you two finally finished. There's another person here. Couldn't you show some restraint? Yunyang shyly burrowed under the quilt. Qing Xiu said, it's not the first time. Besides, you urged Yunyang to live with us, remember? Su Xiaochun pouted, it's my fault. Then recovered, business, my lord, Yunyang and I have prepared the gifts. No elders in your family, you are the head, take the betrothal gifts to the Changsun household at first light tomorrow. I and Yunyang will go to Chang'an to arrange the house on Qinglong Lane. Concubinage is a matter to handle now, not later. Our birth dates and horoscopes should align, pick an auspicious day and formalize the marriage. Then I will have peace of mind. Qing Xiu sighed, I have no feelings for Miss Changsun. Wife, rushing to decide, isn't that hasty? Su Xiaochun smiled, what's hasty? When I married you a few months ago, we met and obtained the wedding certificate on that same day. Now we are loving spouses, aren't we? Still, she remembered, I forgot to tell you, when Miss Changsun came before, she fell and injured her leg and is still limping. If she didn't care, she wouldn't have been so desperate as to break her leg. Besides, I already sent a proposal this afternoon. Qing Xiu imagined Miss Changsun limping, then burst into laughter, a blind man marrying a lame woman, legendary. Su Xiaochun brightened, my lord, so tomorrow you go to propose? Qing Xiu hugged Su Xiaochun and Yunyang, one on each side, softly, you prepared the gifts and sent the letter, I will definitely go. Early the next morning, Su Xiaochun and Yunyang got up early to help Qing Xiu dress. Though as usual his attire was black, this outfit was custom made by them over the past half-month, most likely for today, to propose to Miss Changsun. These two clearly schemed for some time. The black garment had dark red inner lining, front and back were embroidered with dark red cloud pattern border stitching on chest and back, collar, cuffs, and hem. It looked noble, on point and especially handsome. Tisk tisk. Su Xiaochun shook her head in admiration. Clothes make the man, or saddle the horse. My lord in this outfit riding through Chang'an will turn many maidens' hearts. Oh, please. Qing Xiu huffed. This style is comfortable. Later I'll have the tailor make more. Once he donned it, he liked the style instantly, elegant, rich, fitted perfectly. Outside, over 10 carriage wagons bore the betrothal gifts, draped in red satin. The sight was festive. Qing Xiu rode a Dayuan horse, leading guards and maidservants to Chang'an. Because this was a formal event, he did not wear his blindfold, he looked straight ahead. As soon as they entered Chang'an city, he attracted the attention of the whole city. Many guessed, who was this young noble exuding such lavish richness? In the Changsun residence, inside the alley, Changsun Wuji and his wife, Madame Zhao, sat across from each other at the table. Madame Zhao looked somewhat despondent, her gaze at Changsun Wuji carrying a trace of grievance. After all, it was only after the people from the Qing residence came with the proposal yesterday that she learned Changsun Wuji intended to have their daughter marry as a concubine. As a mother, she naturally felt upset. Born into a noble family, her daughter should logically be married into a family of equal status. She never expected her daughter to become a concubine to a blind man. Anyone in her place would find it hard to accept. Changsun Wuji, however, had a slight smile on his face as he comforted his wife. "Madam, I know it's hard for you to accept. You were hoping to find a family of equal status for Pingting in the future. But Pingting really likes him. If we don't fulfill her wish, even if she were to marry into the palace and become a princess consort, she wouldn't be happy. At this point, I only hope she can live a happy life." Madame Zhao said nothing, the look of grievance on her face deepening. She sat silently, lost in her thoughts. Next to them, Changsun Chong, who was seated in a lower position, asked curiously, "Father, this wasn't your plan before. You always said that Pingting should marry into a duke's family of equal standing. This sudden change is so drastic, it's hard to believe you made this decision." Changsun Wuji scolded with a stern face, "And you have the nerve to speak? Marquis Qing is only 3 years older than you, yet he has already earned the title of Marquis of 10,000 households through his own merit. How many young talents in the Tang dynasty can achieve that? Unlike you, who spend your days frequenting brothels. Who in the Qingkong ward's pleasure quarters doesn't know the name Changsun Chong?" Changsun Chong's face turned bright red. He glanced guiltily at his mother. Madame Zhao frowned. "Master, Chong'er is already 17. Sons of ordinary families are already married and have children by that age. At the very least, they have a few maids to serve them at night. It's natural for young men to be full of vigor and occasionally visit such places. Besides, didn't you used to go often too?" That one sentence made Changsun Wuji blush and, pretending to be annoyed, changed the topic. "Why haven't they arrived yet?" As soon as he finished speaking, old Lu, the gatekeeper, ran into the alley in a hurry. "Master, madam, they've arrived. The Marquis of Lantian is now outside the residence." Changsun Wuji immediately said, "Madam, you and Chong'er go out to greet them." Madame Zhao stood up reluctantly and walked out quickly without saying a word to Changsun Chong. "Mother, wait for me." Changsun Chong quickly chased after her. Meanwhile, Changsun Pingting had been nervously waiting in her room since early morning, occasionally peeking outside through a crack in the window. Among the entire Changsun household, she was the most anxious. Madame Zhao arrived at the front gate with a cold expression. She had already decided to do everything she could to sabotage this engagement. But when she reached the gate, she was stunned. Her gaze fell on the young man riding a great Dewan horse, not only handsome but also noble in demeanor. Just one glance, and Madame Zhao's heart skipped a beat. What a handsome young man. Wasn't this Marquis Qing supposed to be blind? Why did he seem completely normal? But the young man really was good-looking. Madame Zhao couldn't stop looking at Qing Xiu, her eyes unable to turn away. She couldn't help but think, no wonder her daughter was so fond of him. With such looks, she too would have chosen him in her youth. Unconsciously, a gentle smile appeared on Madame Zhao's face. Qing Xiu dismounted, and Li Taicheng whispered in his ear, "That's Madame Changsun and young Master Changsun." Qing Xiu cupped his hands toward the entrance. "Qing Xiu greets Madame Changsun." Changsun Chong held only a minor official post without a noble title, so he was the one who had to salute Qing Xiu. Changsun Chong observed him curiously. At that moment, Madame Zhao gently nudged him, snapping him out of his daze. He quickly saluted. "Minor Minister of the Ancestral Temple, Changsun Chong, greets the Marquis of Lantian. The family has been waiting in the alley for some time. Please, come in for tea." As he spoke, he made a welcoming gesture. Qing Xiu felt a growing fondness for his future brother-in-law. Despite rumors that he was a playboy, this polite first impression was quite favorable. Li Taicheng accompanied Qing Xiu into the Changsun residence. Once inside, he handed the gift list to the gatekeeper. The gatekeeper, familiar with such matters, went outside and announced loudly to the crowd. On the 2nd day of the 5th month, the Marquis of Lantian seeks to marry the eldest daughter of Zhao Gong, Changsun Pingting, and has presented generous betrothal gifts, 1,000 caddies of tea, 1,000 caddies of famous Xinhua village wine, 2,000 strings of silver coins. The nearby onlookers began whispering and discussing excitedly. Inside the alley, Changsun Wuji warmly welcomed Qing Xiu, enthusiastically taking his hand and leading him in. The maids began serving tea. Li Taicheng cupped his hands with a smile. Lord Changsun, Madam Changsun, I am Li Taicheng, formerly the left guard of the retired emperor, currently village chief of Sanhe. Marquis Qing has no living parents and has received much favor. I've come on his behalf to deliver the proposal and witness the ceremony. He took out a red silk scroll with 8 bold characters written in black ink. This was the birthdate and characters Qing Xiu had created for himself after transmigrating. He was only 20 by calculation. Changsun Wuji smiled and gestured. Village Chief Li, we've met several times during your service to the retired emperor. Please, have some tea. Li Taicheng sat in the lower seat inside the alley. Changsun Wuji instructed, Madam, please bring Pingting's birth details. Yes, Master. Madame Zhao replied with a smile and left the alley. As she left, she stole another glance at Qing Xiu, her smile revealing a mother-in-law's growing approval of her future son-in-law. Chong'er, go invite scholar Zhang of the Zhang family to help match the birth dates and choose an auspicious wedding day. Yes, father. Changsun Chong left joyfully. In recent days, he'd often heard people discussing this young Marquis of Lan Tian, even in official circles and brothels. He had long wanted to meet him. Unexpectedly, this man was about to become his brother-in-law, a pleasant surprise. After everyone left, Qing Xiu said to Changsun Wuji, Lord Changsun, I have no parents and little knowledge of marriage customs. If I do anything inappropriate, please let me know. Changsun Wuji laughed and patted his shoulder. Marquis Qing, you're being too modest. You've done everything properly. Pingting is my eldest daughter. I now entrust her to you. Please treat her well. If she ever fails to follow the virtues of a woman, disrespects the main wife, disrespects your family, or disobeys the household, feel free to send word to the Changsun residence. My wife will teach her properly. Then he whispered to a maid nearby, go and bring the young lady to serve tea. Soon, Changsun Pingting entered the alley with a red face, unable to look directly at Qing Xiu. She carefully poured tea and handed it over, saying with a trembling voice, Lord Qing, please drink tea. Her hands were shaking so much that the lid of the teacup rattled, making her blush even more. When marrying a main wife, the bride doesn't serve tea. But for a concubine, not only must she serve tea to the husband, but the main wife must also be present. Qing Xiu didn't bring Su Xiaochun, also to give face to Changsun Wuji. And Changsun Wuji asking Pingting to serve tea in person was likewise a gesture of respect toward Qing Xiu. Qing Xiu took the tea and drank it all, handing back the cup. Thank you, Miss Changsun. Changsun Pingting blushed deeply, covered her face with her sleeve, and left quickly. Changsun Chong had invited a famous matchmaker scholar from Chang'an to check the birth details and select an auspicious wedding date. May 10th. In 8 days, Changsun Pingting would officially enter the household. Next came a family banquet, return gifts, and finally a farewell. Before parting, Changsun Chong approached with a grin, Marquis Qing, we're family now. You're my brother-in-law. I'll visit your residence in a few days and get familiar with the place. Qing Xiu smiled faintly, it's a deal. After exchanging a few pleasantries, Qing Xiu mounted his horse and took his leave. In just 2 days, the news that Qing Xiu was about to marry the daughter of Changsun Wuji had spread throughout the streets and alleys of Chang'an. Whether in taverns or at roadside stalls, the topic was being discussed with great enthusiasm. At the residence of Duke Zongua, several old nobles were drinking and exchanging cups, already having had several rounds. Do Gue put down his cup and saluted, all of you are respected elders from the 5 great surnames. The Han rituals passed down for 1,000 years must not be defiled. A dignified duke's daughter, how could she be married off as a concubine? One elder said in a deep voice, we must not let Changsun Wuji set this precedent. Regardless of his royal connections, just being the daughter of a duke, there is no reason she should marry as a concubine. This goes against the rights of high officials and nobles. Brother Buqing, what is your view? Wang Buqing of the Taiyuan Wang clan snorted coldly, not long ago, I took my grandson to propose marriage to the Yan family's legitimate daughter. We had exchanged letters, and the matter was practically settled, but the Yan family backed out at the last moment. No matter what, I'm still an elder of the Taiyuan Wang clan. Their daughter marrying into the Wang family would be considered climbing the social ladder. Yet that Yan girl insists on marrying that blind man of peasant origin, she's not even afraid of disgracing her ancestors. Another elder said in surprise, isn't the Marquis of Lan Tian rumored to be a disciple of the banished immortal? How is he now a peasant? Wang Buqing said disdainfully, disciple of the banished immortal? Do you really believe that? Isn't it just something he cooked up to embellish himself? To tell the truth, I've been going to Sanha village nearly every day for the past half-month. I've asked around endlessly, and no one knows the Marquis of Lantien's background. Doesn't that strike you as strange? This person seems to have appeared out of thin air, without a trace. He might be someone from a disgraced family hiding his past, possibly a remnant of the previous dynasty. He came to Chang'an quietly and recited a poem about the Jade Capital. How did that make him a disciple of the banished immortal? Brother Lu, Brother Zhang, I think this is just a trick to fake fame and hide his true identity. The one called Brother Lu was an old scholar over 70, with drooping eyebrows, a flat nose, thick lips, and 2 missing front teeth, making him especially distinctive. Lu Guangyuan frowned. Brother Buqing, in my view, what you say is not accurate. If this man were truly of peasant origin, how could he accumulate wealth in just a few months through tea and wine business? Peasants don't have such skills. Brother Zhang was named Zheng Taiming, also dressed in a scholar's robe, tall and thin with triangular eyes, a high nose bridge, eloquent speech, and a balding head. Zheng Taiming nodded repeatedly. Making money is one thing, but he also established a free school, teaching peasant children. Isn't this stealing the livelihoods of our 5 great surnames and 7 notable clans? Peasants should remain peasants generation after generation. If these peasants really become literate and eloquent, each becoming a useful talent, it's bad news for families like ours. Lu Guangyuan nodded. Brother Zhang is absolutely right. There are clever people among the commoners, but they lack access to education and can't enter officialdom. If they start getting educated through these free schools and become officials, what will happen to the scholars we train? Exactly. Wang Buqing agreed. I went to see the free school in Sanha village. The knowledge they teach is a mess, many are strange skills and indecent tricks. There are countless children from ordinary families studying there. Now they are building a second free school. At this rate, in a few years, free schools will dominate the entire Guangzhou region. Once a system is formed, our 5 surname schools will suffer greatly. We absolutely cannot allow this trend to continue. Zheng Taiming frowned and asked, Brother Buqing, do you have a plan? Wang Buqing sneered, rest assured, I have already compiled many of the Marquis of Lantien's offenses. Tomorrow in court, I will report all his crimes of harming the people to His Majesty. This little blind man's good days are over. Oh? Do Gue said with interest. Brother Wang, what crimes have you listed against the Marquis of Lantian? Wang Buqing smiled mysteriously, you'll see in court tomorrow. Just wait for the good news. This statement aroused great curiosity in Zheng Taiming and Lu Guangyuan. The next day, at dawn. With a shout from eunuch Wang Da, all ministers, enter and meet the emperor. Civil and military officials filed into the Taiji Hall, and Emperor Li Er walked out from behind the hall. His expression was serious. Since receiving memorials from the Lu clan of Fanyang, the Zheng clan of Xingyang, and the Wang clan of Taiyuan, he knew today's court session would not be peaceful. Who knew what these 3 elders of the great surnames would try to stir up? Greetings, Your Majesty. The officials bowed in unison. Li Er said loudly, no need for formalities. Today's court session is specially convened because of the memorials from the elders of the Lu, Zheng, and Wang clans. The military officials looked around for unfamiliar faces, finally focusing on the 3 elderly scholars in long robes. Upon hearing this, Lu Guangyuan, Zheng Taiming, and Wang Buqing stepped forward and bowed, greetings, Your Majesty. Li Er examined the 3 curiously. Seeing their dignified bearing, he became more serious and asked, you are all respected elders of noble families. What is the reason for your advice today? Had it not been the elders of the great surnames, no one else could have prompted the emperor to call a special court session. Among the 3, Zheng Taiming was the oldest. He stepped forward and said, this commoner, Zheng Taiming of the Zheng clan of Xingyang, offers advice on the Marquis of Lantian, Qing Xiu, who disrespects the rights and seeks to marry the daughter of a duke as a concubine, thereby corrupting propriety and promoting immoral trends. This commoner also admonishes the Right Deputy Minister of the Department of State Affairs, Chang Sun Wuji. As a duke and a model official, he should set an example and uphold proper rights, but he willingly marries off his daughter as a concubine, which is intolerable. I ask Your Majesty to uphold the propriety of the Tang nobility and correct this harmful trend. Li Er raised an eyebrow and looked at Chang Sun Wuji. He had already heard of this matter and confirmed it with Chang Sun Wuji. Chang Sun Wuji immediately stepped out of the official's line and glared angrily. Elder Zheng, what does my daughter's marriage have to do with you? It was my own choice to marry her off as a concubine. It only concerns my family's rights. Why do you meddle? Zheng Taiming calmly replied, Lord Changsun holds high rank. Though it is your family matter, the influence is immense. If this precedent is set, our 1,000-year traditions will collapse. My advice is not aimed at you, but at preserving the rights of the nobility. Your Majesty, please correct the law to ensure noble daughters do not become concubines, to preserve the rights from collapse. This must not be allowed to start. Li Er squinted at the three and thought, these three old foxes came well prepared. He smiled faintly, Elder Zhang, you exaggerate. As the saying goes, even an honest official finds it hard to judge family affairs. The young couple are in love. One wants to marry, the other wants to be married. As an outsider, how can I interfere? As Lord Changsun said, if he marries his daughter as a concubine, it is his family's dignity that suffers. It has nothing to do with you, me, or anyone else here. As an elder of a great surname, Elder Zhang, you're overstepping. I cannot grant your wish. Li Er smiled slightly. What a joke. If marrying a daughter as a concubine breaks the rights, how would he marry his own daughter to the Duke of Xiangqing? Zhang Taiming continued, Your Majesty, as ruler, you should uphold Confucian rights as an example. Please do not ignore this and let corruption grow. Please put a stop to this evil trend. Changsun Wuji angrily said, Elder Zhang, you have no official position and are not of noble rank. What gives you the right to instruct His Majesty? As a mere commoner, you insult the royal dignity in court. What is your intention? I only care that our millennia-old rights are not ignored. That is not an insult to the royal family. Lord Changsun, don't exaggerate. Changsun Wuji slammed his palm on the rail, his eyes wide. These great surname elders meddle too much. This is the imperial court, not your home. Your Majesty, I ask you to expel this old traitor from the court. Changsun Wuji was truly furious, even calling them old traitors, making the other officials look at him with a mix of admiration and concern. Li Er also frowned and scolded, Fuji, do not be rude. Changsun Wuji realized he had lost his composure and withdrew angrily into the official ranks. Everyone understood that offending the great surname elders meant trouble. The censors from those families would find ways to impeach him, if not real issues, they would fabricate some. Li Er laughed and said, Elder Zhang, I still say the same thing, this is Changsun Wuji's family matter. It has nothing to do with me, and I can't manage that much. Elder Zhang, don't waste your words. If you have other matters, feel free to speak. If not, don't delay the court from discussing state affairs. Li Er appeared cheerful, but in fact, he was already issuing an expulsion order. Zhang Taiming understood that if he insisted any further, he might be attacked by all and eventually be expelled from court. At that point, the Zhang clan of Xinjiang would become a laughingstock, which would severely affect the family's development. Your Majesty, this humble subject has something to report. At this moment, Wang Wuqing stepped forward. Li Er asked, where is this elder from? Wang Wuqing replied calmly, this commoner is Wang Wuqing of the Taiyuan Wang clan. What matter do you wish to report? Li Er asked. Wang Wuqing said loudly, this humble subject accuses the Marquis of Lan Tian, Qing Xiu. Li Er squinted, his eyes full of cold light. At this moment, he finally understood that these three elders of the 5 surnames had come for Qing Ho. Their purpose was already obvious. What do you accuse the Marquis of Lan Tian of? Wang Wuqing cupped his hands and said, since spring began, there has been no rain in Guangzhou. This led to a sharp reduction in the harvest of dry fields. The people of Guangzhou barely have enough grain to eat. I accuse the Marquis of Lan Tian of wasting large amounts of grain to brew wine for profit. All that grain was collected by him to make wine. The stored grain in households across Guangzhou is decreasing. Before the autumn harvest, if people run out of grain and have nothing to buy, it will cause widespread famine. He completely disregards the people's lives. This is his first crime. Hey, old man! Yu Qigong roared. He couldn't stand it anymore. He rushed forward, grabbed Wang Wuqing by the collar, and shouted angrily, Qing Ho collects grain, one willing to buy, one willing to sell. What does his winemaking have to do with you? It's not because of Qing Ho that people have no grain. If they keep their grain and don't sell it, who can starve to death? You old thief are meddling too much. Wang Wuqing turned pale from fright. Standing on tiptoe, he pointed at the big hand on his collar, trembling, a gentleman uses words, not violence. You brute, let go of me. Jingda. Li Er frowned and scolded. Yu Qigong suddenly gave a push and then released his grip. Wang Wuqing stumbled back a few steps and nearly fell. What does his winemaking have to do with you? I only drink one kind of wine, Xinhua village suits my taste the best. If I can't drink it because of you, I'll personally go to Taiyuan and smash your head in. Yu Qigong glared at Wang Wuqing, snorted coldly, and returned to the military ranks. Chang Yaojin folded his arms and sneered, Elder Wang, this brother of mine is Yu Qigong. When he kills, he doesn't blink. A dozen kilograms of horse lance in his hand swings like straw. If you stop him from drinking, your Wang family of sour scholars would be wiped out with a single swing. Qin Qiong, half asleep, opened his eyes and said, "That's not an exaggeration." Wang Wuqing's face turned green with anger. He snorted and said angrily, "I am ashamed to associate with brutes." In a time of disaster, the Marquis of Lantian wastes grain to brew wine. This could easily lead to a famine. If I speak for the people and end up ruined, I accept it willingly. Your Majesty, do not let the Marquis of Lantian continue wasting grain for profit. Please, for the people's sake, issue an order to shut down his wine brewery. Whether civil or military officials, as long as they liked drinking, all began cursing this elder of the Taiyuan Wang clan in their hearts, wishing for his death. Li Er smiled faintly and asked, "Elder Wang, I've heard that. Do you have any other charges against the Marquis of Lantian?" Wang Wuqing continued, "Your Majesty, my second charge is that the Marquis of Lantian has been building extensively on his fiefdom. Though the intention may be good, he pays craftsmen 1.5 strings of silver per month, severely disrupting the wage balance. Craftsmen in many parts of Guangzhou have repeatedly demanded high wages from employers, creating a trend of greed. This is his second crime. Because of the Marquis of Lantian's high wages, some hired craftsmen now fish for 3 days and dry nets for 2. Laziness is on the rise. If this continues, the people of Tang will lose their diligence, which is extremely harmful to the country's development. This is his third crime." Wang Wuqing seemed to have opened a floodgate and went on and on. The school set up by the Marquis of Lantian teaches not only reading and writing, but many strange and perverse skills. This has caused the children of common families to become obsessed with oddities, neglecting their studies. This will lead to a future filled with useless people. His motives are malicious. This is his fourth crime. The school established by the Marquis of Lantian is heretical. I ask your Majesty to order its closure and restore orthodox education." After speaking, Wang Wuqing looked around proudly, pleased with himself for listing so many accusations. Li Er stared at these clowns with a smile. Although these 4 so-called major crimes were presented well by Wang Wuqing, Li Er knew best that even if there were problems, the impact wouldn't be significant. Craftsmen might envy the high pay in Sanha village, but for the sake of livelihood, they wouldn't really slack off. At most, they'd complain a bit. Li Er had a fairly good understanding of the people. Before he could speak, Changsun Wuji shook his head in disbelief and said, "I, Changsun Wuji, consider myself thick-skinned, but I've never seen someone as shameless as you." You dare call me shameless?" Wang Wuqing shouted, furious. Changsun Wuji sneered, "You say you're not? Forget the winemaking for now. Just the development of Sanha village, how many common people have benefited from it? How many people who had nothing now have homes to live in? How many poor people have earned silver with their own hands? And this is just in a few months. If it continues, all of Guangzhou will become a prosperous and vibrant place like Sanha village. Children from poor families had no access to education. They'd grow up to be just more laborers. The school Qingho set up doesn't charge a coin, yet teaches them to read and write. Elder Wang, your accusation shows you're afraid your 5 surnames and 7 clans' monopoly on education is being threatened. You're scared. You're actually scared." Changsun Wuji laughed coldly. "Pa!" Prince of Hejian, Li Shaogong, spat and chuckled, "Elder Wang, good thing you only dared to say in court that the school should be closed. If you dared say that in Sanha village, I swear the people there would tear you apart." Seeing the situation turning against him, Wang Wuqing suddenly fell to his knees and, with a sleeve dipped in ginger juice, wiped the corners of his eyes, making tears flow instantly. "Your Majesty!" Wang Wuqing cried, "I speak for the people. The school founded by the Marquis of Lantian teaches mainly strange and unorthodox skills. We cannot let him continue misleading the children. Please, Your Majesty, shut down his school and return the path of learning to the right way." Zheng Taiming and Lu Guangyuan also knelt and cried loudly, "Please, Your Majesty, shut down the school of the Marquis of Lantian and return education to the right path." Li Er walked down the steps smiling, gently helped the 3 elders up, and even kindly dusted off their knees. This surprised the officials and left the 3 old men flustered. Li Er said with a smile, "All right, I agree." The civil and military officials were shocked. Had His Majesty given in so easily? The 3 clan elders were overjoyed, their hearts surging with excitement. But then Li Er changed his tone, "Since this is for the people, then we should hear the people's voice. Today, I won't hold court. I'll take you and the officials to Sanha village. When we arrive, you, the Zheng, Lu, and Wang clans, can petition the people directly to shut down the school. That way, the locals will admire your noble spirit. Wouldn't that be wonderful?" The 3 elders trembled all over, fear flashing in their eyes. If that really happened, wouldn't the local people tear them apart? Wang Wuqing quickly said, Your Majesty can decide alone. We won't go. Our families are just clans among the people. Being admired by the people should be Your Majesty's honor. We dare not take it. Yes, we are unworthy of such admiration. That should belong to Your Majesty. Li Er's eyes turned cold, his face showed a mocking smile. So I'm the one who should take the blame? Do you really take me, Li Er, for a scapegoat? The three elders of the 5 surnames kept making excuses, their shamelessness reaching outrageous levels. Li Er said discontentedly, Elders, you clearly understand how hard it is for children from poor families to get an education. Marquis Qing teaches freely on his own fief. Even if it's just basic reading and writing, to the poor, this is an immense kindness. In my view, you're just playing dumb. Even without the free school, the children of poor families would still grow up to be commoners. With the school established by Marquis Qing, if they can read and write, what harm is there in learning a few unusual skills? Seeing the three of them looking uneasy, Li Er smiled and said, If your 5 surnames can also establish free schools in Guangzhou like Marquis Qing and teach the children of commoners, I promise to shut down Marquis Qing's school. What do you think? Wang Wuqing's expression changed slightly. He hurriedly cried out, Your Majesty, though we come from noble clans, we are still commoners by birth. Unlike Marquis Qing, we don't have deep pockets. Even if we emptied our homes, we couldn't afford to run free schools. Li Er smiled and said, How about this, I'll fund the schools, and you provide the teachers. I'll cover food, lodging, and even offer some wages. This way, you won't spend a penny and can still earn money from me. Why not take the deal? Then, Li Er winked at Changsun Wuji. Changsun Wuji immediately said with a smile, Your Majesty is wise. This way, not only can the elders earn silver to support their households, but also gain the support of the common people in Guangzhou. Elder Zhang, Elder Lu, Elder Wang, this is a great kindness. Shouldn't you express your gratitude? The 3 elders turned green in the face. They came to court to cause trouble, but now they had become the ones in a difficult spot. The military officers began to jeer. His Majesty is wise and considerate, giving the 5 surnames a way to earn money. Others should be jealous. Why can't this opportunity fall to me? Old Cheng, look, they're so touched they're about to cry. His Majesty is so kind. Even I'm moved. For a moment, the 3 elders of the 5 surnames were stuck in an awkward position. Wang Wuqing braced himself and said, Thank you for Your Majesty's favor. What virtue or ability do we commoners have to receive such grace? We wouldn't dare let Your Majesty spend money. This matter is too big for us, we need to go back to Taiyuan to consult the clan elder. The truth was, the consultation was an excuse to run away. Li Er knew better than anyone that it was impossible to get the 5 surnames to provide free education. Even if he forced them to send people to teach in his schools, who could guarantee those people wouldn't slack off? Casually teaching a bit of basic literacy wasn't what he wanted. Li Er simply nodded and said, Since you can't make the decision, then go back and discuss with your clan elder. I'm eager to open several schools in Guangzhou. There's no time to waste. Go discuss it quickly and send people to serve as teachers. I'll send an escort to take you home. Someone, arrange 3 cavalry units to escort these elders home at top speed. Wang Wuqing began sweating and quickly shook his head. No, Your Majesty, there's no need. We can go ourselves. No need to trouble Your Majesty. We'll leave shortly. Since Your Majesty has already decided to open schools, that's a good thing. We will support it fully. Now back to the main issue, let's talk about Marquis Qing wasting grain to brew wine. Wang Wuqing no longer argued about the schools and immediately switched topics, clinging to the wine issue. Li Er frowned and said, Elder Wang, the wine business is how Marquis Qing and his family make a living. He's just doing business. There's no law in Great Tang that prohibits nobles from doing business. A censor surnamed Wang immediately stepped out and said, Your Majesty, according to what I've heard, Elder Wang is not saying Marquis Qing broke the law, but that he's speaking for the people. I propose temporarily shutting down Marquis Qing's winery. Once the harvest comes and grain is sufficient, he can do whatever he wants with his wine. Lu Shoulin, who was nearly expelled from Chang'an last time, also stepped out and said, Your Majesty, please consider the people and temporarily close Marquis Qing's winery to save grain for the disaster season and avoid famine. A censor surnamed Zheng followed and said, What Censor Wang and Censor Lu said is absolutely right. I agree. With these 3 leading, all censors tied to the 5 surnames and 7 clans joined in. I agree. We all agree. Please decide soon, Your Majesty, and save grain for the people. Wei Zheng, after thinking for a while, also said, Your Majesty, although Marquis Qing hasn't broken the law, based on what I know, he uses tens of thousands of jin of grain daily to make wine. That adds up to tens of thousands of dan per month. This year, not a drop of rain has fallen, and dry fields have yielded less. We still have months to wait for the autumn harvest. If the weather stays good, fine. But if the yield drops again, the consequences will be severe. Please, Your Majesty, carefully consider the people's livelihood. Wei Zheng's words made the military generals start to ponder. What he said did make sense. Seeing a dozen censors agreeing, Li Er's expression turned grim. He said seriously, I've said already, the wine business is how Marquis Qing makes a living. He hasn't broken the law. The construction in Sanha village required large sums of silver daily. Li Er knew that much of this money was coming out of Qing Ho's own pocket. Where did his money come from? Wasn't it the profits from the wine business? As for tea, Li Er had already evaluated it, its market had stabilized. It was no longer as profitable as before. Please think of the people. Wang Wuqing knelt and bowed, a slight smile on his lips. Zheng Taiming, Lu Guangyuan, Lu Shoulin, almost all the censors knelt. Please consider the people and save grain for possible future famines. Li Er nodded coldly, your intentions are for the people. I thank you. He gritted his teeth saying, thank you. He continued, your hearts are in the right place, and that's good. But I still say, Marquis Qing hasn't broken the law. I have no reason to shut down his winery. But since all of you request this, why not invite Marquis Qing to court? He cares for the people. He built Sanha village. If you can persuade him to shut down the winery voluntarily, I have nothing to say. Wang De, summon Marquis Qing from Sanha village to the palace. Yes, Your Majesty. Wang De immediately took a team of messengers to Sanha village. At that time in Sanha village, Qing Xiu was cheerfully chatting with an old doctor beside him. Elder son, as you can see, Sanha village's medical hall is clean and sanitary, far better than your thatched hut. Plus, we can provide you with endless medicinal herbs. Practicing here is far more convenient than in a hut. Look at all the doctors and attendants here. You won't need to handle every small task yourself. I'll pay you 3 strings of silver monthly. Whenever you want to eat, just come to my house. You've tasted my cook's dishes before, you know how good they are. If you want something special, I can personally cook for you. Iron pot stew turtle, small rooster stewed with bull's whip, lamb kidneys roasted with garlic, all good for your health. Others can't make such food. The private courtyard next to the medical hall was personally designed by me. It's full of flowers and herbs. You can also plant medicinal fields. It's peaceful and clean. If you stay, that courtyard is yours. Qing Xiu said with a smile, determined to keep Sun Simiao in Sanha village. This man was a real divine doctor. Keeping him had countless benefits. Even if he had kidney issues in the future, he could easily get a remedy. Master, how about we stay? Look how great this place is, said Sun Simiao's disciple, Ling Qiu, fanning the flames. Sun Simiao nodded and said with a smile, sure. Staying here, being 20 li from Qinling isn't a big deal. Except that herb collecting will be a bit harder. Life here is livelier. Qing Xiu smiled and replied, then I'll host a feast at noon to welcome Elder Sunday. Just then, Xuanzi arrived with a few palace messengers at the medical hall. After a round of negotiations with eunuch Wang De, Qing Xiu looked displeased. He didn't want to cause trouble, but trouble kept finding him. Suddenly, Qing Xiu had a thought and said, Elder son, why don't you come with me to the palace? Old Ma drove the carriage following the court messenger toward the palace. Inside the carriage, Qing Xiu and Sun Simiao sat facing each other. Qing Xiu held a jar of alcohol in his arms and smiled at Sun Simiao, saying, Taoist son, now it's all up to you. I know. Sun Simiao waved his hand and smiled, you're not brewing wine, you're making alcohol. The benefits of alcohol, I've come to understand clearly over the past half-month. We absolutely can't let those hypocritical pedants succeed. Very good, then many thanks to Taoist Sunday. Qing Xiu said no more and instead took a god's eye view of the construction of the imperial city. As he watched, the corners of his mouth twitched. The palace construction was naturally magnificent. Thousands of doors and windows with gilded domes all looked the same. Crimson walls over 2 zhang high, pagoda-like buildings were everywhere, over 10 meters tall. Bronze eaves hung high on the 4 corners of the domes, such tall structures with metal eaves? Isn't that just asking to be struck by lightning? No wonder Li Er issued a self-blaming edict almost every year, saying he had done poorly and angered heaven, resulting in divine punishment by lightning. The reason had finally been found. Placing metal structures at such heights, when thunder and rain come, what would lightning strike if not the palace? Especially the Taiji Hall, atop its dome shone a polished brass dragon head, seemingly showing off to the thunder god and lightning mother, come strike me. After getting off the carriage, they followed the court messenger straight through Chengtian Gate. Beyond it lay the Taiji Palace. Wang De entered the Taiji Hall first and reported to Li Er. Li Er nodded. Only then did Wang De shout, "Summon the Marquis of Lantian and Daoist Sun Simiao to appear before the emperor." As the two stepped into the Taiji Hall, all the officials looked puzzled, not understanding why Daoist Sun Simiao had also come. Was it just a coincidence? "Greetings to your majesty," the two saluted Li Er. Li Er waved his hand and said, "Marquis Qing, Daoist Sun, no need for formalities." The officials focused their attention on Qing Xiu, and some couldn't help whispering praise. So this is the Marquis of Lantian? Truly deserving of his reputation. Didn't expect the Marquis of Lantian to be such a young man. I've heard the rumors of his handsome appearance, seeing him today, it's indeed extraordinary. Qing Xiu wore the same outfit as when he proposed marriage at the Changsun residence, with a black satin blindfold and a purple sandalwood walking stick. Although his blindness was obvious, his noble aura could not be ignored. Qing Xiu asked loudly, "May I ask why your majesty summoned this subject to the palace?" Li Er said expressionlessly, "Marquis Qing, these 3 men beside you are elders from the 5 surnames and 7 clans. The eldest is Zheng Taiming of the Zheng clan of Xingyang. The second is Lu Guangyuan of the Lu clan of Fanyang. Leading them is Wang Buqing of the Wang clan of Taiyuan. They came to the palace to accuse you." As he spoke, Li Er wore a hint of amusement on his lips, his heart full of anticipation. He was eager to see Qing Xiu humble these 3 arrogant clan elders. Qing Xiu said coldly, "So it's the 3 elders from the Zhangs of Xingyang, the Lus of Fanyang, and the Wangs of Taiyuan. I have never met you and have no grievance with you. Why would you accuse me?" Wang Buqing carefully observed him and said coldly, "Marquis of Lantian, there has been no rain this year. Guangzhong's grain yield has greatly decreased. In such a year of disaster, you waste large amounts of grain to brew wine and profit. As righteous men, we speak for the people and must act without hesitation." Qing Xiu sneered, "I use my own money to buy grain and make my own wine, what does it have to do with you? If the people have no rice to cook, they should buy grain from grain merchants. What does that have to do with my brewing? Elder Wang, aren't you meddling too much?" Wang Buqing smiled faintly and bowed to Li Er, "Your Majesty, since the 7th year of Wuda, Guangzhong suffered a great drought, and the people had no harvest. The retired emperor issued a prohibition on alcohol to ensure grain wasn't wasted and to stabilize supply and demand. In the 8th year of Wuda, the weather was favorable, and there was a good harvest. The retired emperor lifted the prohibition, and winemakers resumed business. But in the 9th year, another drought hit Guangzhong, and the retired emperor reissued the prohibition to secure the food supply. After your Majesty ascended the throne and changed the era name to Zhengguan, the prohibition was lifted again. Wine sellers became active once more. Now that another drought has struck, shouldn't your Majesty follow the retired emperor's example and reissue a prohibition?" Li Er squinted sharply and said in a low voice, "Elder Wang, before Marquis Qing arrived, why didn't you bring this up?" Wang Buqing bowed, "This humble one just remembered it after Marquis Qing arrived." Li Er's expression darkened, "Very well, a fine elder of the Taiyuan Wang clan. So you were just waiting to trap me, eh?" Wang Buqing, full of righteous airs, said, "Your Majesty, don't falsely accuse this humble one. You are the emperor, I'm a mere commoner. How could I dig a trap for your Majesty?" Li Er said coldly, "What if I don't issue a prohibition on alcohol?" Zheng Taiming stepped out and calmly said, "Your Majesty governs with both civil and military virtues, your talent is unparalleled. Otherwise, the retired emperor wouldn't have passed the throne to you. He surely saw your greatness." Then Zheng Taiming smiled slightly, "The retired emperor cared for the people. Whenever there was a disaster, he would issue a prohibition. Your Majesty also cares for the people. If this is again a year of disaster, surely your Majesty, in your great wisdom, would follow suit and gain the people's admiration." Li Er's face twitched several times, his expression dark enough to drip water. Changsun Wuji said darkly, "Elder Zheng, does this mean that if His Majesty doesn't issue a prohibition, he's not as good as the retired emperor?" Zheng Taiming's expression changed, and he hurriedly shook his head, "This humble one never meant that. Lord Changsun, please don't slander me. The way of the king lies in the hearts of the people." Only now did the civil and military officials view these 3 with new respect. They didn't come just to target someone, but with a deeper goal. If Li Er didn't issue a prohibition, it would suggest he was an unwise ruler, less caring than the retired emperor. If he did, it would ruin Qing Xiu's wine business and grant the noble clans the reputation of boldly advising the emperor for the people's sake, elevating their status. The situation had developed to the point that Li Er was one step behind. At that moment, a censor jumped out. "Please, your Majesty, show compassion and issue a prohibition." Please, Your Majesty, show compassion and issue a prohibition. I agree. I second that. Li Er's face couldn't have looked worse. Wei Zheng also stepped forward and said, Your Majesty, in my opinion, if you don't issue a prohibition today, you will seem uncaring to the people. If you do, you will win their support. But it will harm the Marquis of Lantian's wine business. After speaking, Wei Zheng looked at Qing Xiu. Li Er turned to Qing Xiu. His eyes were full of helplessness. No matter what he chose, it would be difficult. Of course, issuing the prohibition had political benefits, the only downside being that it raised the clan's prestige. But Qing Xiu just smiled and bowed. Your Majesty cares for the people, and farming is difficult. If this is a year of disaster and there is little grain, naturally, a prohibition should be issued to conserve supplies. Li Er opened his mouth in surprise, then said with gratitude, Marquis Qing, your understanding eases my heart. But I pity your wine business. Your source of income will be cut off. Li Er's eyes were full of guilt. If he had thought it through earlier, he wouldn't have fallen into Wang Buqing's trap. Qing Xiu asked puzzled, Why does your Majesty say this? You issue your prohibition. It has no effect on me. My wine shops will still open. I just need to tweak a few strokes and add a single character. The civil and military officials were dumbfounded, staring in shock. What? Was he planning to defy the prohibition? The prohibition is issued, and you're still selling wine? And saying in court that your business won't be affected? Li Er was equally stunned, his mouth twitching nonstop. The three clan elders were even more confused, staring at the smiling Qing Xiu full of question marks. At this point, where did his confidence come from? Ahem, ahem. Li Er coughed twice seriously and said, Marquis Qing, I've already issued the alcohol prohibition. Why do you say it won't affect your family's liquor business? Are you planning to defy the prohibition and continue selling alcohol? Selling alcohol? Qing Xiu looked surprised. Your Majesty, when did I ever say I would continue selling alcohol after the prohibition? Didn't you just say? Li Er tilted his head, confused. Qing Xiu grinned and said, Your Majesty, I won't sell alcohol anymore. I'll sell ethanol. Ethanol? Li Er was stunned. The officials began to murmur. What is ethanol? I don't know. What's the difference between ethanol and alcohol? Could it be some kind of spirit transformation in the wine? Wine can turn into a spirit? This is getting interesting. Very interesting. Haha, I think Marquis Qing is going to win this one. Haha, I agree. Marquis Qing wouldn't say anything without confidence. Facing the confusion, Qing Xiu calmly smiled and said, Your Majesty, esteemed ministers, there are various qualities of wine, some better, some worse. Alcohol ranges from 1 to over 100 degrees. Low-grade wines are around 10 degrees, what ordinary folks can afford to drink. Medium-grade wines are around 30 degrees, like San La Bru, considered top-tier, unaffordable for the poor. As for high-grade alcohol, it should no longer be called wine, but ethanol. Anything above 50 degrees is categorized as ethanol. What I intend to sell is not for drinking, but for medical use. For medical use? Li Er's lips twitched in suspicion. A censor angrily said, Nonsense. Wine has been passed down for 1,000 years. It is a beverage used to lift the mood and enhance social gatherings. How could it be used to cure illness? Another censor added, Utterly ridiculous. Your Majesty, Marquis of Lantian openly spouts nonsense in court, distorting right and wrong. I beg your Majesty to punish him and send him to Dali Temple for trial. Laughable. Wine is for drinking, not for healing. Your Majesty, please charge Marquis Qing with deceiving the sovereign. Li Er frowned and said, Silence. Let Marquis Qing present his proof. If he fails, then we can punish him. Qing Xiu said, Wine can indeed lift the mood and enhance atmosphere, but I've already stated, what I sell is not wine but a substance called ethanol. It is not for drinking but for saving lives. Daoist Sun, may I trouble you to explain the miraculous use of ethanol? Sun Simiao raised a small jar of ethanol and stepped forward. After surveying the hall, he solemnly nodded and said, What Marquis Qing said is true. Ethanol is indeed used for treating illnesses and saving lives, not for drinking. The crowd was shocked. They might not believe Qing Xiu, but who was Sun Simiao? He was a legendary doctor in the Great Tang. If he said even dog dung was medicinal, then it would be accepted as medicine. Sun Simiao continued, There are invisible pathogens in our world. If a wound isn't properly treated, it can be invaded by these harmful germs, leading to infection and possibly death, a painful one. But if ethanol is applied to the wound, it can kill these germs and prevent the wound from festering. In the past, when treating farmers wounded by blades or tools, nearly half the wounds became infected, and over 20% would die. But in the past half month, I've treated over 100 trauma cases. We used ethanol to disinfect wounds and soaked medical tools in ethanol before use. Not a single case of infection or festering, every patient recovered with vitality. Ethanol is a miracle medicine, capable of saving lives. After scanning the stunned crowd, Sun Simiao turned to Li Er and said, Your Majesty, during wartime, the number of soldiers who die from festering wounds is no fewer than those who die in battle. Why is that? Li Er became emotional, his eyes turning red. All the military generals breathed heavily, staring at the ethanol jar in Sun Simiao's hand, eyes unblinking. Many had red-rimmed eyes. They recalled the battlefield. Many comrades didn't die from the fight but from untreated wounds that eventually rotted and killed them painfully. Sanitation in this era was poor, it was a paradise for bacteria. Sun Simiao continued, soldiers often die not from fatal wounds but from infected ones. If we have ethanol in the military, even if it can't guarantee complete recovery, it can save at least 90% of wounded soldiers. Li Er stood up, voice trembling, Daoist Sun, is this true? Sun Simiao solemnly said, I've tested it myself. If there is falsehood, Your Majesty may order my execution now. The Taiji Hall erupted. This is great. With ethanol, we no longer need to fear comrades dying from minor wounds. God! Why didn't ethanol appear earlier? My brothers wouldn't have died such horrible deaths. You three old bastards, if you stop ethanol from being produced, I'll personally kill you. Elders Zheng, Lu, and Wang turned pale with fear. Wang Wuqing stubbornly shouted, utter nonsense. Your Majesty, Marquis Qing and Sun Simiao must have conspired to deceive everyone. Pouring wine on a wound is excruciating, how can it cure injuries? They're deceiving everyone. Your Majesty, they are deceiving the ruler and should be executed in public. Qing Xiu looked at the censors and elders as if they were clowns, then said to Li Er, Your Majesty, some time ago, while escorting my wife's family, my guards were attacked. 9 were killed on the spot. Do you remember this? I remember, Li Er nodded. Not just me, the whole court remembers. Qing Xiu continued, I had 10 guards. One named Old Ma was seriously wounded. I used ethanol to disinfect his wound and tools, then stitched it up. That's how he survived. Ethanol played a crucial role. He's outside the Taiji Hall now. If there's any doubt, summon him to testify. The purpose of bringing Old Ma was to prove ethanol's medical effect. Li Er quickly said, summon him. Let everyone see if ethanol truly saves lives. Soon, Old Ma entered the hall. After more than half a month of recovery, aside from some weakness, he looked no different from a healthy man. He followed instructions and removed his shirt. 7 or 8 deep wounds, each over a foot long and exposing bone, were visible. The stitches hadn't even been removed yet. Gasps filled the hall. The faces of the 3 clan elders turned ashen. If people truly believed ethanol saved lives, then banning alcohol wouldn't affect Marquis Qing at all. He wasn't selling wine. He was selling medicine. Old Ma proudly walked a circle and said, I was severely injured and near death. Even if I survived a few days, I would have died from festering wounds. Thanks to my lord and Daoist Sun, they disinfected me with ethanol and stitched my wounds with sterilized tools. I survived. Without ethanol, not even 10 lives would have been enough for those wounds. Ethanol is indeed a miracle medicine. Qing Xiu silently gave Old Ma a thumbs up in his heart. He then smiled at elders Zheng, Lu, and Wang and said, if you don't believe me, we can test it. Find 10 people, give each a wound, apply ethanol, and wait 10 or 15 days to see if any fester. Shall we conduct the experiment? Wang Wuqing gritted his teeth and said, yes, of course. The test posed no risk to him. If it worked, fine. If not, Qing Xiu would be executed for deceiving the emperor. Qing Xiu bowed to Li Er, Your Majesty, please grant approval. Li Er's face twitched, black with frustration. Marquis Qing, enough. Where am I supposed to find 10 people for you to stab? Qing Xiu replied helplessly, if not, they won't believe ethanol saves lives. If Your Majesty won't find them, I can find them myself. Just grant me permission to draw my blade. Li Er waved his hand, I won't find people for you to stab. If you want to test, find your own. Thank you, Your Majesty. Qing Xiu bowed, a cold glint in his eye. Having received imperial approval, he suddenly drew his cane sword and turned toward the 3 old men. The cane sword's blade scraped against the whetstone with a clang, and the sound of the sword being drawn echoed through the main hall. The veteran generals present, hardened by battlefield experience, each had every pore stand on end and turned sharply towards the sound. At the sight of Qing Xiu drawing his sword, everyone broke out in a sweat of fear. The 3 elderly Confucian scholars, wearing robes as thin as paper, had their garments sliced open without resistance. The sound of flesh being cut was so vivid it made one's teeth ache. Three cries of agony rang throughout the Taiji hall as the three clan elders clutched their chests and stepped back several paces in horror, staring terrified at the blind man wielding the blade. Officials standing closest to Qingxiu all stepped back in unison, letting out gasps of alarm. Li Er shuddered all over, nearly falling from the steps. He stared in disbelief at the unfolding scene. Wang Wuqing lifted a hand and found it already stained with fresh blood. A stabbing pain in his chest made him dizzy. Ah, you. Wang Wuqing was terrified, pale, and continued retreating. The other two were the same, fearing that if they retreated slowly, this blind man would cleave them with one stroke. Qingxiu lightly flicked the cane sword, sending blood droplets that had stuck to the blade splattering onto the smooth, glossy black stone floor. 3 done. Qingxiu looked at the dozen or so imperial censors and said with a faint smile, "It seems many of you don't believe ethanol can heal wounds. We just happen to be 7 short of the 10 needed to test its marvels. Which of you will volunteer to serve His Majesty and take one for the cause?" The dozen or so censors belonging to the great surnames went pale. "You, how dare you? Outrageous. This is the Taiji Hall. How dare you draw a sword to wound someone before His Majesty? Your Majesty, Marquis of Lantian disrespects Imperial Majesty, daring to wound people in this sacred hall. I impeach Marquis Qing for defiling the court. Guards, seize him. He intends regicide, kill him on the spot." Qingxiu walked up to one of the most fearful censors and said coolly, "Sir, earlier I saw you wearing a disdainful expression. I suppose you don't believe ethanol can heal wounds. That's fine. I always prefer to persuade by virtue. Since you offered, is 1/ too much to test its power?" Nearby, Yu Qigong's mouth twitched and he muttered, "Persuade by virtue? I think he means, persuade by /." That censor turned deathly pale and fell to the ground, wetting his trousers, face red in terror. "Marquis Qing, spare me, spare me. I believe ethanol can heal wounds." "Oh? And you?" Qingxiu looked at another censor. This censor stepped back, swallowed, then nodded wildly. "I believe too. I believe." Li Er's face was as black as a pot's bottom. He roared, "Marquis Qing, enough. You cease at once." Although furious, a flash of pleasure lit his eyes. It took someone like Qingxiu to do what he himself dared not. He was emperor and had to be restrained. Qingxiu had no official post and no desire to serve. He acted like a brute, proving that scholars meet soldiers and reason gets lost. Qingxiu did not sheath his sword. Instead he said, "Your Majesty, I just asked and was granted permission to draw my sword inside Taiji Hall. I've already tested on 3, and there are still 7 to go. Your Majesty, please wait. Once I cut 7 more censors and reach 10, we can test ethanol's wonders properly." Li Er slammed the table and snarled, "This is the Taiji Hall. If you want to cut people, do it outside. These censors are ministers of the court. If you defile them, you're intentionally harming court officials, a capital crime. Cease at once." Only then did Qingxiu sheath the sword. He bowed to Li Er, "Your Majesty, they did not believe. I only wished them to experience it firsthand. That's not allowed." Li Er glared, "They're my trusted ministers, how can you kill them at will?" Zheng Taiming lay on the floor, groaning weakly. "Send for the physician. I'm dying. I'm about to die." Lu Guangyuan clutched his chest, grimacing in pain. "You braggart. I'm over 60, old enough to be your grandfather. You strike a nearly elderly man like that? Aren't you scared of backlash? Oh heaven." Wang Wuqing sat on the floor and lamented to the sky. "A young, powerful marquis in the court wounds 360 to 70-year-old elderly subjects with a sword. Is there justice left? Is there any law left? Please, Your Majesty, stand up for us." Li Er's mouth twitched as he weighed matters in his mind. Changsun Wuji smiled and said, "Elder Zheng, Elder Lu, Elder Wang, are you intending to sue Marquis Qing?" "What? Impossible?" Wang Wuqing shot a furious glare at Changsun Wuji. Zheng Taiming and Lu Guangyuan also glared angrily. Changsun Wuji smiled and nodded. "Of course it's possible. But under Tang law, when a civilian accuses an official, they must receive 10 blows before the case proceeds. Qing Ho after all is a marquis of noble rank. You commoners accuse him, you each must first endure 10 strokes of the board." Several military officers couldn't hold back laughing. The 3 elders paled further. If their faces were already ashen, now they turned even more ashen. Li Er expressionlessly nodded. "Indeed that is the law. If you insist on suing Marquis Qing, we must first arrange for officials of the Ministry of Justice to administer your punishment. Are you sure?" The 3 old men's lips twitched non-stop. Their chest wounds cut to the bone, their pain was excruciating, and in the current warm weather, the blood did not stop flowing. If they still received 10 strikes, they might not die, but they'd lose layers of skin. Qing Xiu said solemnly, "Sirs, I'm not trying to kill you. You were the ones who proposed testing ethanol's effectiveness. If I had someone else to test, you might later deny it happened. I had no choice but to pick you. Now that you have injuries, if left untreated you could bleed to death, that would be nothing to do with me. You still insist on suing me." On hearing that, Wang Wuqing grew deathly pale. He scrambled up and trembled, "Your Majesty, I want to treat my wound. I won't sue Marquis Qing, let me recover first." "So do I. I'll go home and seek medical care." "All right, let's go quickly. I'm dizzy from blood loss." "No. You cannot leave." Qing Xiu moved swiftly to block the three elders. "If you leave and the wound festers to death, what then? Taoist Sun Simiao is a divine healer. Why pursue hard experiments when you can receive treatment nearby?" They reflected and all saw his logic. Leaving the palace, letting the wound bleed until death, catching a chill, that would kill for sure. So preserving life must come first. Wang Wuqing had no further complaints. He bowed to Sun Simiao. "Please Taoist Sun, treat us. I'm deeply grateful." Zheng Taiming pulled Wang Wuqing aside weakly. "Brother Wang, your wound is minor and not bleeding much. My bleeding is getting uncontrolled. Please let Taoist Sun treat me first." Wang Wuqing, irked, said, "Brother Zheng, I spoke first." Lu Guangyuan said, "Brother Wang, let Brother Zheng go first. His wound is worse." "All right then." Wang Wuqing reluctantly yielded and allowed Zheng Taiming to go first. At that moment Li Er spoke, "No need for such fuss. I'll have palace attendants escort you back to the Imperial Medical Clinic so Imperial physicians can tend your wounds." Relieved, Wang Wuqing and Lu Guangyuan hurriedly expressed thanks. Qing Xiu smiled and told Sun Simiao, "Taoist Sun, these elders are badly wounded, they need potent medicine. Please take care." All three eldest elders had a premonition, they felt something ominous. Sun Simiao nodded with a mysterious expression and followed them to the Imperial Clinic. Soon, wails of agony like a slaughtered pig emerged from the clinic. Sun Simiao didn't use ordinary alcohol, he used ethanol refined a second time, over 80 degrees in strength. Pouring that on wounds felt like pouring salt onto them. When they returned to the Taiji Hall, the three elders were carried in, soaked through, and completely insensate with exhaustion. The three old men's faces now looked no better than old Ma's did when first wounded. They seemed to have lost all vitality and arrogance, trembling so badly standing in the hall they looked like they could collapse from a breeze. Qing Xiu gave the three old fellows a mocking smile, then said to Li Er, "Your Majesty, Elders Zheng, Lu, and Wang are all seriously injured. To prevent their wounds from festering outside, I propose they return with me to Sanha village for care under my supervision." Li Er glanced sideways at him, as if saying, "Under your care, and surviving?" The three elders grew pale and shook their heads in horror. "Your Majesty, I am fine, truly fine, I don't need to go to Sanha village to recover." "Your Majesty, please see, my health is excellent." Zheng Taiming turned in place twice to show he was strong. Wang Wuqing ground his teeth and said, "Thank you for Marquis Qing's concern. I will not go to Sanha village for treatment. I still wish to live a few more years, please permit me to recover at home." Before Li Er could speak, Qing Xiu shook his head and said, "That won't do. If you use the excuse of recuperation and then let your wounds fester until you die, won't everyone say my ethanol failed to heal? Who will defend me?" Wang Wuqing's face twitched. With all his remaining strength, he shouted, "Marquis Qing, you are unfair. Are you so intent on proving ethanol useless that you don't care about our lives?" Qing Xiu let out a cold laugh. "Heh, maybe you're all fools? I don't know you. How can I know whether you'll act like this?" Li Er nodded often and said, "If so, then as Marquis Qing said, you will go with him to Sanha village for recuperation." Zheng Taiming's legs went weak and he nearly collapsed, face pale. "Your Majesty, I believe now, I believe ethanol can heal wounds. Please revoke the order." Now the emperor had ordered them to go to Sanha village, if they refused, it'd be defying imperial order. If they went, they might just lose their lives. Lu Guangyuan also trembled and said, "Your Majesty, I also now believe ethanol can heal wounds. I poured some on my wound earlier, it felt better than any salve." Qing Xiu's lips twitched, nearly laughing. Wang Wuqing nodded stiffly, "I also believe Marquis Qing. Ethanol indeed can heal wounds." Li Er gave a faint smile and said, "In that case, I'll issue a prohibition on alcohol sales, but it won't apply to ethanol." Wang Wuqing offered a grim smile, "Naturally, ethanol is medicine, not wine." Li Er nodded, then asked, "Elder Wang, your accusations against Marquis Qing about wasting grain to make alcohol, are they finished? As for the complaint about high wages disrupting employment balance, are you still pursuing that?" Wang Wuqing hung his head, "No, not pursuing it. Anyway, we couldn't win. Why bother?" Li Er frowned, "Oh? I uphold justice impartially. As long as you submit a charge, I'll give you a position of honor. The three elders' lips twitched nonstop, their heads shaking like rattles. If even the emperor shields this blind man, then even if they took their case to heaven, they'd lose. Lier was nearly laughing inside but remained outwardly calm. Since that's the case, you may go. We retire now. We retire too. The three elders supported each other, trembling and weak, and walked out of Taiji Hall. Lier asked, does any official still wish to petition? All ministers declined to speak. Lier nodded, then Marquis Qing remain, Daoist Sun remain. Disperse. Because Lier was present, several generals who intended to speak with Qing Xiu let the idea go. Shoulder-linking in groups, they left. They knew that being too close to the blind man in Lier's presence wasn't wise. Once the ministers dispersed, only Lier, Wang De, Qing Xiu, and Sun Simiao remained in the hall. Lier tucked away his smile, slammed the table and said, Marquis Qing, this is Taiji Hall, not your home. If you draw a sword and injure someone without my verbal permission during court, that's a capital crime. In the future, show some restraint. Yes, your majesty. Qing Xiu bowed to Lier, had elders Zheng, Lu, and Wang not accused me, I would not have come here. Lier raised an eyebrow, so Marquis Qing didn't want to come to court? Qing Xiu shook his head, indeed, I did not wish to. Why? Lier asked, somewhat expectant. Qing Xiu said, your majesty saw it too, I am a brute. Court rules are many. As a marquis, eyes are on me. Because of your strategies recently, I've gained some prestige among the people. That isn't good for me. Those three elders already guessed, they don't want my prestige to exceed that of the 7 great clans. That's why they united to suppress me. This kind of matter is bound to happen again. If I slip even slightly, I'll face impeachment. I don't enjoy this meddling and scheming. Lier sighed, if that's the case, I'll not force you with an official post. No wonder those clan elders gathered in Chang'an, they were targeting you. Marquis Qing, after today's events, will you slow your developments in the village? Lier asked nervously, if today's court affair discouraged him, that could harm Great Tang's development. Qing Xiu smiled lightly and said, I will do what I like, regardless of others. If someone challenges me, I'll meet force with force. By the way, Qing Xiu asked, now that I'm staying, your majesty must have instructions? Lier considered and said, indeed. I issued the alcohol ban, it bans wine and alcohol, but not your ethanol. That could lead opportunistic wine merchants to order ethanol in bulk. If so, the grain used to produce your ethanol will increase, this is bad during a disaster year. You understand? Qing Xiu nodded, I understand. But my grain does not come from the common people, it is supplied by major grain merchants in Guangzhou. They provide stored grain. Once that runs out, I will not use new grain to make ethanol. The existing stored grain from major Guangzhou merchants is enough for me until late autumn. I have no worries about the grain supply. Excellent. Lier laughed, I plan to order a batch of ethanol from you for treating wounded soldiers during campaigns. How much would it cost? Qing Xiu softly laughed, if it's for Tang troops defending the country, I'd charge only cost plus minimal markup. You can trust me. Lier stroked his beard and laughed heartily, very good. I'll have the imperial kitchen prepare lunch. Marquis Qing, you and Daoist Sun shall dine at the palace now. You can teach palace physicians how to use ethanol. Qing Xiu intended to refuse, but after hearing it, nodded and happily accepted. A meal lasted about half an hour. As the gathering was about to end, Lier suddenly asked, Marquis Qing, you surely cannot keep those 2 female prisoners chained in Dali Temple forever? Daizhou has asked me about them multiple times. These 2 women scream every day, making the Dali Temple jail chaotic. Multiple proposals have suggested that if they have broken Tang law, they should be formally punished. Keeping them locked up indefinitely seems to be driving them mad. Qing Xiu considered this, what Lier said made sense. The Dali Temple dungeon was dark, damp, dirty, and infested with rats and reptiles. Such indefinite confinement was torture even for men, let alone 2 cleanliness-loving women. In such a closed environment, over time, it's easy for a person to lose mental stability. Lier continued, if Marquis Qing does not want to execute them, I'll issue an order tomorrow to bring them to Kaishiku Market for beheading. Then, Qing Xiu was about to say, then just execute them, but an idea suddenly came to him. He replied with a faint smile, or, allow me to retrieve them myself and handle it personally. Lier smiled, that would be excellent. I will now draft a decree, Marquis Qing may go to Dali Temple to bring them here. Once the decree was written, Qing Xiu and Sun Simiao carried it and went to Dali Temple. Still within the imperial city, it took a single incense stick's time to reach. Before entering, Qing Xiu asked, Daoist Sun, do you have any medicinal pills on you? Sun Simiao suspiciously retrieved a small porcelain bottle and handed it to him. Qing Xiu asked, "What is this for?" "It is a blood-replenishing pill, to supplement qi and blood." Qing Xiu asked further, "If taken, what reaction occurs in the body?" Sun Simiao shook his head. "Apart from mild qi and blood rising, there is no other reaction." "Is this blood-replenishing pill available outside?" Sun Simiao looked proud. "It's my exclusive recipe, unique in all the tang, distilled from dozens of medicinal herbs. It can supplement qi and blood and nourish the kidneys. If you don't believe it, you may try." Hearing this, Qing Xiu leaned toward Sun Simiao and whispered a few words. "Haha, my kidneys are perfectly fine, I don't need nourishment." Sun Simiao opened his mouth but ended with a look of disdain. "You are really shameless." Qing Xiu bowed respectfully. "Please, Taoist Sun, help me perform a little play." Sun Simiao replied, "Since you ask, I will accompany you in the performance." After discussing, they entered Dali Temple. Presenting the decree, a Dali Temple officer escorted them to the dungeon. The dungeon was underground, holding serious criminals without rank or titles. The environment was filthy and chaotic. Above it was the daylight prison, which had windows and sunlight. It held convicted officials or nobles. The jailer led them to the innermost cell, and a foul odor overwhelmed them. The floor underfoot was sticky, and occasional rats squeaked. The jailer lit a brazier torch and pointed to a cell with flattering pork-like smiles. "Marquis, these are the 2 female prisoners you seek." Qing Xiu observed through a god's eye view into the cell. In the low, narrow room lay a pile of dark straw. 2 figures shivered inside, unwashed hair, dirty and ragged clothing dyed by time. They wore heavy shackles on hands and feet, chained to a post. The scene was indescribably tragic. Nearby was a wooden bucket, likely for human waste. When light entered suddenly, the imprisoned women squinted, shielding their eyes. Once adjusted, Lu Yunyun and Shan Xiaoro looked toward them. Having been imprisoned for over half a month, their expressions were numb, eyes hollow. Another 10 days or half a month more and they likely would have gone completely insane. Seeing the newcomers, Shan Xiaoro's eyes filled with panic, and her body recoiled. Instinctively, Lu Yunyun shielded Shan Xiaoro behind her. After a moment, Lu Yunyun rushed forward like a lunatic, but stumbled due to chains. Her bloodshot eyes locked on Qing Xiu as she shouted, "Bastard, how long must you keep us locked here? Even if we've done wrong, kill us then. Why make us suffer here?" She cried loudly with tears streaming and uttered ear-piercing sobs. Qing Xiu did not speak at once. He waited until she cried herself out and calmed, then said, "You both trained in martial arts. Though you were imprisoned, you likely had many opportunities to end your lives. Why are you still alive now?" Lu Yunyun looked startled, with a complex expression. Qing Xiu continued, "Because you do not want to die. You still hold a hope of escaping. Let me be honest, you will not get out." Lu Yunyun deflated, and Shan Xiaoro hugged her knees, sobbing nonstop. Lu Yunyun's voice lowered, "Since we can't get out, then at least grant us a quick end." Qing Xiu was silent briefly, then raised 3 fingers and said, "I offer you 3 choices. First, continue to be imprisoned here forever. Second, be taken to West Market Kaishiku to be beheaded publicly." Lu Yunyun's body trembled and she whispered, "What is the third?" Qing Xiu pulled a small bottle from Sun Simiao and poured 2 small pills, size of Luwei Dihuang pills, into his hand. "Third, swallow these, and I will take you out." Lu Yunyun saw the pills and with caution asked, "What are they?" "Poison." Qing Xiu nodded, "Yes. This poison is called 7-day death pill. After taking it, toxins will spread through your body within 7 days, destroying all internal organs. You will die tortured for 7 days. Lu Yunyun was not foolish and immediately understood the meaning. She coldly asked, "You intend to control us with this poison?" "Smart. Yes." Qing Xiu nodded. "I intend to control you with this pill." He pointed at Sun Simiao. "He is Sun Simiao. You surely recognize the name." "Sun Simiao?" Lu Yunyun stared in surprise. "The medicine king, Sun Simiao?" Sun Simiao calmly nodded and softly said, "This pill is my formulation, refined over years. It's poison but contains a bit of antidote. If you take a 7-day death pill, you will die after 7 days with organ collapse. But if within those 7 days you take another 7-day death pill, the antidote within it will neutralize the previous dose's poison. The remaining poison will accelerate, but you will live another 7 days." With Sun Simiao's involvement, Lu Yunyun and Shan Xiaoro deeply believed in the potency of the pill. Lu Yunyun hesitated. Shan Xiaoro stood and trembled. "Mr. Qing. With this poison you intend to control us and force us to do what?" "I won't tell." Qing Xiu said coldly. "Once you swallow it, I will tell you what to do next." Shan Xiaoro bit her lip, then extended a hand. "I'll take it. Give me 1 pill." Lu Yunyun cried in alarm, Xiao, don't take it. Once we swallow it, our fate is completely under his control. Shan Xiao gave a bitter laugh, Master, if we don't take the poison, is our fate in our own hands? Won't it still be in his hands? Master, if we don't take the pill, we will remain locked here, it's filthy and foul. I can't stay. Even if taking the poison gives me a chance to wash and die cleanly, I'd do it. Lu Yunyun paused but looked at Qing Xiao with complexity. Slowly, she extended her hand and whispered, give it to me. I will take it first. Open your mouths. Qing Xiao commanded. Both Lu Yunyun and Shan Xiao opened their mouths. Qing Xiao flicked his fingers twice, sending 2 pills, about the size of Lu Wei Dihuang pills, into their mouths. Then he instructed the jailer to open the cell and release the 2 ill-fated women. Qing Xiao escorted them out of Dali Temple. Outside, Lu Yunyun and Shan Xiao saw the long-missed sky again and breathed fresh air. They immediately burst into tears. The master and disciple clung together, crying like infants just born. Sanha village had no shortage of vacant houses. Near the house where Jiang Huai and Jiang Yener lived, a small courtyard was arranged for Lu Yunyun and her disciple. Servants and maids brought several buckets of warm water and clean clothes. When Lu Yunyun and Shan Xiao saw the water and clean clothes, they treasured them more than meeting their birth mother. They locked themselves in a room and sobbed while washing. After arranging everything, Qing Xiao led Lao Ma into the small courtyard where Jiang Huai and Jiang Yener lived. The siblings spent their days idle. Their daily entertainment was sitting on the roof watching the bustling scenes of Sanha village, considered a form of pastime. Before Qing Xiao entered the courtyard, the brother and sister had already spotted him and climbed down from the roof. Jiang Huai smiled and walked forward, asking, young Marquis Qing, how do you find time to come see me and my sister? Qing Xiao pulled out 2 small folding stools, tossed one to Lao Ma, and sat down. From his body he retrieved Sun Simiao's small bottle and poured out 2 small black pills. Jiang Huai looked puzzled and asked, what are these? Qing Xiao explained, the 7-day death pills. Jiang Huai's face changed slightly, Jiang Yener turned pale and looked at Qing Xiao with panic. 7-day death pills, as the name suggests, if taken, the poison spreads and causes death in 7 days. The pill contains an antidote, take a second pill within 7 days, and the first poison is neutralized, extending life by another 7 days. Jiang Huai forced a bitter smile, you intend to use this poison to control us, right? Qing Xiao did not speak, he merely nodded. Jiang Huai did not hesitate. He walked over, pinched one, and swallowed it directly. After swallowing, qi and blood surged upward, and his face flushed slightly. He said to his sister, now, sister, you have always wanted to go out. After taking this pill, presumably you can go out and move freely. Jiang Yener reluctantly pinched one and swallowed it. Her fair face also flushed slightly. Qing Xiao handed the bottle to Lao Ma and said, every 6 days, give 1 pill to each of them, the sibling pair and the master and disciple pair. When finished, go ask Daoist Sun for more. Lao Ma, this will be your task from now on. Lao Ma bowed and carefully put away the small bottle. Jiang Huai was unperturbed. With a light smile he said, Brother Qing, I have taken the poison. Now, what do you intend for my sister and me to do next? Dealing with smart people requires no worrying. Qing Xiao instructed, very simple. Your future task is to prepare herbal baths for over 1,000 people daily. If you need any herbs, just inform Lao Ma and he will prepare them in advance. So simple? Jiang Huai asked in surprise. Qing Xiao nodded, yes. So long as it doesn't affect your work, I will not interfere with your personal freedom. Jiang Yener's body trembled and she said emotionally, your meaning is that we may move freely inside the village, even leave it? Qing Xiao stood and said, if you are not afraid of dying after 7 days, even if you go home now, I will not stop you. No, no. Jiang Yener cried with joy, shaking her head, we will not leave. We plan to spend the rest our lives here. Thank you, thank you. She expressed heartfelt gratitude. Clearly, her longing for freedom outweighed fear of death. After leaving there, Qing Xiao first visited Li Taiqing's home. Li Taiqing had been running around nearby looking for people each day. He looked noticeably sun-darkened. Uncle Li, have you gathered everyone? Li Taiqing shook his head and sighed, so many people, and we require them all to be teenage boys. They're hard to find. In these days I have found over 700. To reach the full number, we'll need to search further, and learn their dispositions, it's difficult. Qing Xiao thought and said, all right then. 700 is enough. If we can't find suitable ones, no matter. We can also find some girls of similar age. Li Taiqing slapped his thigh, if you'd said that earlier, I could have gathered 1,000 girls, and not just 900. No need for so many. 100 or 200 is sufficient. Good. Then I'll venture to the nearby villages again. Qing Xiu bowed. Many thanks, Uncle Li, for not sparing the effort. Once everything is done, I will host a banquet at home. Li Taicheng waved his hand and smiled. No need to mention hardship, it's all for the construction of Sanha village. Your words are too modest. After a few formal pleasantries, Qing Xiu departed. Though the training camp's construction was progressing fast, it would still take at least half a month, not just a few days, to complete. After 2 mornings. At the village grain pounding yard, over 900 rag-clad teenage boys and girls had gathered. These were children of poor families nearby, living in hardship. As Li Taicheng had said, when parents learned their children were chosen by Sanha village to train, they were grateful. Some even kowed out in thanks. This year's severe drought sharply reduced crop yields. The more mouths at home, the more strain. Grain was already scarce, and children ate more. Sending a child to Sanha village meant saving family grain, and they received monthly copper coin wages in hundreds. Their parents were deeply appreciative. These nearly 1,000 young people at the pounding yard all wore excited smiles. Under their parents' influence, they believed that coming to Sanha village meant a good life ahead. Li Taicheng, responsible for speaking, stood on the large millstone, cleared his throat, and said, "Children, welcome to Sanha village. You were not brought here as child laborers, but to be trained as personal retainers of the Marquis. You will undergo training lasting 1 to 2 years. It will be tough. If someone doesn't want hardship, you may come to me afterwards and I will send you home. If you choose to stay and complete training, you will receive 100 silver coins monthly. If you become a retainer later, your income will rise to hundreds or even 1,000 coins per month." At this announcement, all the teenagers' faces showed excitement and fervor. Li Taicheng continued, "Tomorrow morning begin training. In the afternoon, we will teach reading and writing. Food and lodging are provided. If anyone shirks their duties, I personally will send them home." None of them wanted to give up such a rare opportunity to bring prosperity to their families. No one opted out. They declared willingness to endure hardship, even joked that they would rather die than be dismissed. Li Taicheng was very pleased at the outcome. Not far away, following Qing Xiu were 4 people, Jiang Huai and Jiang Yan are siblings, Lu Yunyun and Shan Xiao master and disciple. Lu Yunyun was no fool. Seeing the scene, she instantly understood why Qing Xiu had taken control of them. She felt relief in her heart. They had worried for 2 days that they might be sold into brothels or become the blind man's playthings. Now it proved they had worried too much. Qing Xiu addressed them, "Your task from now on is to train these children. Impart everything you know. If you withhold anything, I will again send you to the Dali Temple dungeon." Lu Yunyun's face changed, showing fear as she shook her head. Shan Xiao's face turned pale. Her head shook like a rattle. No, we will not withhold anything." Qing Xiu nodded in satisfaction. "In the morning you teach martial arts, afternoon is your free time. No one will interfere with your personal freedom, as long as you do not step outside the village. Otherwise, you know the consequences. Each month, I will give you several taels of silver. Sanha village sells everything, clothes, jewelry, cosmetics, all available. As long as you don't leave the village, no one will interfere." Lu Yunyun nodded helplessly, Shan Xiao nodded vigorously. For Shan Xiao, Sanha village was already tens of thousands of times better than the dungeon. Li Yuan is an honorable person. Since Qing Xiu returned, he had only briefly come by to say hello. Recent days he avoided disturbing his little newlywed with Su Xiaochun. At noon, smelling the aromas, Li Yuan came. But this time he came not empty-handed. He carried a sandalwood box in his arms, hugging it tightly as if it held a peerless treasure. The moment he entered, Li Yuan leaned over to the courtyard dining table, sniffed and waved his hand to fan the aroma, then nodded in delight. "Heh, young Marquis Qing, see what gift I brought you." Li Yuan sat unceremoniously on a stool, placed the sandalwood box on the table, smiling broadly. Qing Xiu disdainfully said, "Come on. Even if you brought no gift, could I stop you from freeloading a meal?" Li Yuan's expression soured. "I came to give you a wedding gift, and to join the meal. You speak of me as if I'm unfit." "A wedding gift?" Qing Xiu looked puzzled. Li Yuan sneered, "Ha, didn't you say you're marrying Changsun Wuji's precious daughter? As your elder, and since the bride is Changsun Wuji's niece, I need to prepare a respectable gift." Qing Xiu smiled, "Then I thank you, elderly. You don't plan to inspect the gift I brought?" Li Yuan asked annoyed. Qing Xiu pointed to the eye patch on his face. Li Yuan scoffed, "Don't try to fool me. Everyone knows you killed people in Qinling as easily as slicing melons and vegetables. A blind man doesn't accomplish such feats. Even if your eyes are blind, your mind is like a clear mirror." He said this with proud delight. Qing Xiu said helplessly, "Believe it or not, I hear with my ears. As you see, I wear the eye patch so I cannot see. All right? If you won't admit it, then forget it. Li Yuan muttered once, then opened the box. Inside lay a half-transparent jade bead. He picked it up and placed it into Qing Xiu's hand, wincing as he spoke. This is glazed jade bead. I had people find one this large and pure in Chang'an. It cost me 8,000 guan of silver. Qing Xiu's lips twitched wildly as he observed the glass ball. It contained many bubbles, the size of a quail egg, perfectly round. Its only merit was being spherical. Seeing Qing Xiu's lip twitching, Li Yuan laughed smugly. Well? Moved? I wear a tiny jade bead as an accessory. This pigeon egg-sized one is your and Pingting's wedding gift. Qing Xiu asked helplessly. Elderly, where did you buy such a large glass jade? From a Hu merchant. What's the matter? Li Yuan asked casually. Qing Xiu returned the bead to the box, feeling the box was insulted, then smiled faintly and stored it. He bowed to Li Yuan. Thanks for the wedding gift from the former emperor. Please excuse me. Of course. Let's eat, I'm starved. Li Yuan bellowed to begin the meal, with good wine and dishes served. After lunch, Qing Xiu decided to head to Chang'an to check how Wei Laojie's team progressed in glass refining. As if sensing their master's thoughts, during the meal a strong man appeared carrying a heavy sack, face flushed with excitement. Marquis, great news, we have successfully produced. Indeed, the man was Wei Laojie. Seeing Li Yuan, he swallowed the rest of his words. Qing Xiu nodded. All right, got it. You go back. After lunch I will go to Chang'an. Wei Laojie discreetly withdrew. Li Yuan curiously asked, Young Marquis, your retainer just said great news. Does your household have good fortune coming? Qing Xiu shook his head with a smile. No. I ordered them to distill stronger alcohol, probably produced higher proof alcohol. Oh? So that's it? Li Yuan's eyes shifted, nodding with narrow eyes. He didn't believe a word Qing Xiu said. Why refine alcohol in Chang'an when the distillery was already on the manor? After eating, Li Yuan took his leave. Qing Xiu quickly rode to Chang'an City. Entering the manor, he went straight to the glass furnace room in the backyard. Since Zhang Laodao handled the village's security, glass burning was entrusted fully to retainer Captain Wei Laojie. Upon seeing Qing Xiu, Wei Laojie excitedly poured out the contents of the sack, fist-sized glass balls, some egg-sized, pigeon egg-sized. He explained, Marquis, my men sorted impurities from the sand. These were all produced yesterday morning. Almost no bubbles or flaws. Qing Xiu studied them. The balls were large, with minimal bubbles or impurities though not fully round. Due to crude handling they couldn't shape them. Qing Xiu nodded. Good. You collect these and smash them into fragments, then bury them deeply in a corner. Wei Laojie winced. Marquis, why destroy them? These large jade glass beads took effort. Wouldn't it be better to give them to retainers? Qing Xiu sneered. Poor appearance. Quality must trump quantity. Otherwise they become commonplace. We'll burn only the finest jade glass. Even rare goods demand excellence. Wei Laojie sighed and smashed them with a hammer on an iron plate until shattered. Probably Li Yuan would vomit blood seeing this. Those 8,000 silver-worth beads were worthless compared to the furnace results. Qing Xiu decided to personally craft. Wearing leather gloves, he took a glowing blob from the furnace. The soft glass twisted under his hands. Nearby retainers watched in awe. He shaped a long penshaft form. Let it naturally cool, then polished first by whetstone, then rubbing with coarse cloth for nearly an hour until both ends were smooth and round. A flawless transparent pen rod formed, just needing a tip, it would become a rare scholar's treasure. He handed it to Wei Laojie, using this as standard, craft 6 more. Discard all inferior ones by smashing and burying. Meanwhile, send someone to the city to find a skilled brush maker, use best materials to turn these into writing brushes. Yes, Captain will follow your orders, the young retainer responded quickly. Qing Xiu added, send word to my wife, she will not return to the manor for a couple days. Let Yunyang bring 10,000 taels of silver to Chang'an. Soon a retainer went to Sanha village. After about an hour, as dusk fell, Yunyang arrived at the Qing mansion with dozens of retainers and 2 carts of silver. Upon seeing Qing Xiu, Yunyang asked curiously, Master, I brought the silver, what do you intend to do with it? Qing Xiu guided Yunyang inside. She discreetly surveyed the rooms, many maids peeped secretly. She blushed and softly said, Master, it's still daylight, couldn't I serve you tonight? Qing Xiu slapped her but lightly, her rounded hips trembled like jelly. What are you thinking? I have things to tell you, don't get dirty-minded, or I'll deal with you tonight. Yunyang blushed deeply. Realizing she misinterpreted, she wished to disappear into a crack. Qing Xiu led Yunyang into the room and quietly instructed her, tomorrow morning early, you should take people into Chang'an City to find where poets and scholars gather most densely, and secure a place suitable for opening a wine house. The larger the space, the better. Yunyang was surprised. Master, you want to open a wine house? Qing Xiu nodded. I've planned this for a while, but have been too busy to arrange it. In the next few days I'll train some cooks using the household cooks. Yunyang was pleased. Although our home cooks are not as skilled as mine, the dishes they make are definitely more delicious than at the palace. If we open a wine house, it's impossible not to make money. He had already made a fortune from alcohol and tea. Opening a wine house wasn't about the money. It was about creating a high-end entertainment venue and preparing for an upcoming auction. Because the wedding was only days away, Su Xiaochun and Yunyang had decorated the Qing household exquisitely. Furniture made by Zhang the carpenter had been arranged. The whole mansion looked upscale and impressive. Late at night, after bathing, Yunyang leisurely entered the bedchamber. She had welcomed Qing Xiu many times and had shed her initial shyness. Now she was practiced and skilled. Her plump figure matched Qing Xiu's aesthetic, full in the right places, slender in others. Though at home he and Su Xiaochun often joked that Yunyang was fat, she is only about 1.6 m tall and no more than 100 jin. Her fullness in some areas made her appear voluptuous. Qing Xiu most liked this figure, but not too forward in front of Su Xiaochun. Rarely alone, Qing Xiu lost his restraint. He demanded Yunyang wear a layer of translucent pink gauze, her radiant jade-like body faintly visible. This high-end seduction, not nakedness, but visual impact, covering yet revealing. Her rounded hips were soft, legs slender and long. Her small jade feet were pleasing to play with. She smelled of fragrant sweat, gauze clinging to her skin, like a living beauty. They did not stop until deep into the night. Early morning, still asleep, Yunyang felt herself being attacked. She stirred, shy and sleepy, but offered no resistance. After relieving her master's stress, she dressed radiantly to prepare breakfast. But last night was too wild. Qing Xiu ate breakfast then returned to sleep again, only rising mid-morning. Yunyang quietly entered the workshop district, but again was pinned under Qing Xiu. She gasped softly, Master, you're teasing. Lord Changsu and sons have arrived, waiting in the hall. I came to notify you, hurry up and receive them, or people will laugh. Who dares laugh? Qing Xiu grunted, lifted his face from Yunyang's chest, stretched, and got out of bed. Yunyang helped him dress and said, besides Lord Changsun, a few other young masters have arrived. They look rich or noble, likely the sons of great dignitaries. I know. He said it, then went to the front hall. In the hall sat 4 young masters aged 16 or 17, enjoying tea sent by servants. Seeing Qing Xiu, they rose and bowed. I am Cheng Chumo, greetings, Marquis Qing. Cheng Chumo was burly, with thick brows and big eyes. Though young he looked like a man with a full beard. Qing Xiu smiled, so you are from Duke of Lu's household, honored to meet you. Another hesitated, then bowed, I am Fang Yai. Greetings, Marquis Qing. Last time was just a misunderstanding, please don't mind it. Haha, it's long past. No need to blame yourself, Fang. Of the 4, the most handsome one in ordinary clothes smiled, my father is Wang Li Xiaogong of Hejian. I am Li Chongyi, greetings, Marquis Qing. You are the young prince, honored. Li Chongyi continued, I haven't inherited my title yet, so no official status. Please call me Chongyi. My father often mentioned Marquis Qing. I long to meet you. Hearing your wedding to Miss Changsun is soon, I came specially to congratulate. Changsun rushed forward and banged his head on his forehead, smirking, all pretentious scholars, don't speak with flowery words. Among us, speak directly. Li Chongyi brushed off his hand and rolled his eyes. Changsun laughed, my brother-in-law is a frank man. My father says he hates rules. So among us, let's be casual, right, brother-in-law? Qing Xiu nodded with a smile. Since marrying Changsun Pingting, he naturally became her brother-in-law. Cheng Chumo then suggested, it's rare we gather today, and lunch approaches. Why not head to 10 Fragrance Pavilion to eat? I'll arrange meals. Marquis Qing can prepare good alcohol. What do you say? Ha! Marquis Qing's fine alcohol is unrivaled. Surely you have even better liquor than at Xingwakan. We must taste it. Li Chongyi glanced at Fang Yai and corrected him, it's not wine, but alcohol. Remember, we can only drink alcohol, not wine. Fang Yai quickly nodded, yes, yes. The emperor already issued a ban on wine. We can only drink alcohol. Qing Xiu told the servant at the door, bring a jar of my stored premium alcohol, about 50 degrees is enough. He turned and smiled, since you all invited me, I cannot be stingy. After lunch, I will invite everyone to Pingkong Lane. Let's watch the girls dance, hear songs. Young people of age should follow youthful customs. All were young, and Qing Xiu dropped airs, interacting casually. Chang Suan's eyes lit up, chuckling, I didn't expect my brother-in-law is also fond of fun, I like you already. Li Chongyi's eyes also glittered, very good. I heard a new courtesan arrived at Hongxiu Pavilion yesterday. Rumors say her figure is more enchanting than the sword-dancing Ms. Gong Sun. Shall we go to Hongxiu Pavilion? Chang Sun nodded repeatedly. Chang Chumo smirked, seeing isn't touching, what joke? Qing Xiu asked, what's that supposed to mean, seeing isn't touching? Chang Chumo explained, they say this courtesan sells art but not bodies. To see her face, one must complete several trials. Last night, Prince Wang from the Great Li family offered 3,000 guan for a night with her, and even he was refused. Tsk tisk. Chang Sun clicked his tongue, being a prostitute but setting rules, how tedious. She refused 3,000 guan. True art for sale, not the body. Qing Xiu just laughed, if no payment, it's not sale. Li Chongyi raised a thumb, laughing, Marquis Qing has vision. I expect you might enter her chamber to see her. Maybe even spend the night. If that's the case, then let's go. Qing Xiu grabbed some gold beans and silver beans from the account book and followed the young masters out. He always carried them easy to tip street performers. They had lunch at 10 Fragrance Pavilion. Except for Qing Xiu, the others felt slightly tipsy, smelling of alcohol. This was his first time at Pingkong Lane. Even at midday, courtesans already came out to solicit guests, bright dresses, rouge and makeup smelled from afar, calls in many voices. Observing from above, Qing Xiu spotted someone unexpected. Seeing him, his lips twitched. In a mansion with a Li family plaque, an older man with graying temples sat in the courtyard, engrossed in a military treatise. Good grief, it was military god Ling Jing? Ling Jing lived in Pingkong Lane and yet was surrounded by several courtesan houses? Once night fell, wouldn't the noise nearly kill Ling Jing? Perhaps battling his wife for 3,000 rounds? Did Ling Jing break divine rules? Would Ling Er treat him this way? Yo, young master Chang Sun, it's been some days since you came, this maid missed you to death. A plump madam, she swung her hips and waved a handkerchief to greet Chang Sun Chong. Though she wasn't very old, only about 30, her look spoke of a woman past bloom but still attractive, with mature charm from brothel origins. Qing Xiu clicked his tongue, tisk tsk, didn't expect you're still a regular here. This was Chang Sun Chong's first time bringing his brother-in-law to such a place, so to maintain image he was a bit reserved, looking slightly awkward. He pulled a small silver piece from his sleeve and dropped it into the madam's cleavage, speaking politely, I'm not familiar with you, so don't get too close. This is only my first time at your Hongxiu house. A few of the fellow rich heirs gave disdainful glances. The madam ignored the silver piece sliding down, and hooked Changsuan's arm whining, look how cold you sound. You were my last loyal customer before I reformed. Now that I'm aging, you've started rejecting me. Chang Sun didn't wish to linger, so he withdrew his arm and pointed at Qing Xiu. Today the priority guest is this gentleman. He's VIP to me, don't neglect him. Treat him well, and you won't lack for reward. The madam looked Qing Xiu over and was surprised, even blind men come to pleasure houses now? Qing Xiu tossed a golden bean, don't listen to his nonsense, I'm here to listen to music. I heard your courtesan from yesterday sings very well, so I came just to enjoy her song. Seeing this blind man casually drop an expensive gold bean shocked her, and she immediately let go of Chang Sun Chong. She clasped Qing Xiu's arm and trailed off in risque talk. Oh, this gentleman's generosity astounds, wonder which girl is honored to serve you? If unsatisfied, this madam will tear down the plaque and serve you personally, blowing, plucking, singing, anything you desire. Qing Xiu withdrew quickly, feeling disgust. Realizing her overtures had been rejected, the madam didn't get angry, just laughed and ushered inside. Girls, come greet the guests. At her call, the Hongxiu house filled with colorful-clad girls who swarmed in and surrounded the 5 young masters, offering themselves for pillow service. Of course Qing Xiu ignored these ordinary beauties. Even a top appearance wouldn't interest him, after all, in such places one false move and you catch disease. Not worth it. But that didn't stop him from picking 2 decent-looking girls to massage his shoulders and serve tea. After some negotiation by Chang Sun, the madam, somewhat embarrassed, came forward to Qing Xiu. Sir, our top courtesan Shui Xian has a fierce temper. Ordinary guests cannot see her face. Qing Xiu was blunt, they're all courtesans here, why set rules? The madam struggled, Water Narcissus girl is different. She never sold herself to Hongxiu house, and even paid a lot to have housing, food, clothing arranged. Many want to meet her, but few get invited into her boudoir to hear her sing. Qing Xiu asked, if she's not one of your house girls, why keep her here? The madam smiled faintly, Sir may not know, Water Narcissus is breathtakingly beautiful. Since she arrived yesterday, business here boomed. Our income doubled. How could we escort her away? Qing Xiu nodded and asked, what conditions must be met to see her? He really wanted to see this courtesan rumored to be extraordinary. The madam nodded, sir, she's an artist-only courtesan here, not for selling. At night she comes to Middle Hall to sing a few songs. To enter her boudoir and hear her, you must answer a few questions she asks. What questions? Qing Xiu asked with interest. Please follow me, gentlemen. The group, interested, followed. The madam led them to a room with a single table, stools, and 2 paintings on the wall. Qing Xiu paused visibly. Those paintings were abstract, but from the outlines he recognized the 2 women, Lu Yunyan and Shan Xiaoro. He was almost certain the 2 depicted were them. He smiled faintly. They must have come to the brothel to find someone, not to remain as courtesans. No wonder they'd show up here. Besides the tavern, the brothel network had better information. Chang Sun looked around impatiently. Embroidery madam, why did you bring us here? The madam pointed to the paintings. Gentlemen, have you ever seen these 2 women in the pictures? Chang Sun shook his head, Cheng Chumo shook head, Li Chongyi shook head, Fang Yai also shook head. Only Qing Xiu nodded. Everyone was baffled. The madam half laughed, half crying, sir, you can't see it all, how could you have seen these women? Don't joke with me. Qing Xiu pulled Chang Sun Chong over and smiled, I didn't see them, but young master Chang Sun did. Chang Sun looked dumbfounded, brother-in-law, how could I have seen them? If I say you saw them, then you saw them. Seeing his brother-in-law serious, Chang Sun reluctantly nodded, okay, I did see them. The madam was appalled. Qing Xiu continued, embroidery madam, young master Chang Sun says he saw them. What's the next step? The madam, helpless, pointed to the paper and brush on the table, write down the location, occasion, and their characteristics. I will deliver it to Water Narcissus girl's boudoir. Whether she invites you in depends on her will. Chang Sun scratched his head looking at Qing Xiu, brother-in-law, I never really saw them. How can I write? I will teach you. Qing Xiu pressed him to a stool and instructed, just write 4 characters, master-disciple relationship. That's enough. All right? Chang Sun reluctantly wrote those 4 big characters. The madam looked surprised and then led them out of the room and upstairs alone. Business at Hongxiu House was good. Though it was only afternoon, some lunch-drinking customers came to entertain. Most were merchants, some scholars. While waiting at a table outside, 2 elegantly dressed young masters entered Hongxiu House. Embroidery madam? Where's embroidery madam? One young master called. Behind him was his servant carrying a large cloth sack, heavy with unknown content. A younger room master smiled and greeted, young master Wang, embroidery madam is busy now. I will serve you. Will you have Ying or Xiu accompany you? After sitting, the proud young master replied, don't bring those mediocre girls to embarrass me. Last night your marquis threw 3,000 guan silver but failed to enter Water Narcissus girl's boudoir. As the saying goes, a moment's pleasure is worth 1,000 gold. Sir came today with 1,000 taels of gold, surely qualifies to enter her boudoir and spend the night. Ask embroidery madam to answer. He told his servant to open the sack, and it spilled full of gold cakes. Qing Xiu sneered disdainfully, so there are still people who throw money at courtesans? Although he did not know who this Wang was, clearly wealthy or noble. Qing Xiu quietly asked, gentlemen, who is this young master Wang? Li Chongyi, Cheng Chumo, and Chang Sun Chong all shook heads. Only Fang Yai whispered, Marquis Qing, he is Wang Jinghuai from the Grand Li Wang clan. My father once had acquaintance with a great scholar in the Wang clan. Not long ago he visited with his grandfather Wang Buqing. Qing Xiu curved lips into a slight smile, so he's the grandson of the Wang clan elder, no wonder he spends so big. He recalled how Wang Buqing had cried to the emperor in Taiji Hall saying he was just a commoner. But his grandson now buys knights with gold. If commoners could be so rich, it'd be something. Meanwhile the madam came down from the stairs and walked directly toward Chang Sun Chong. Wang Jinghuai got up angrily, embroidery madam, why rush off? Do you still care about sir? Are you blind? I bring 1,000 taels of gold, yet you led Water Narcissus to another guest, how can you do business like that? The madam was embarrassed, young master Wang, I already explained, you must answer Water Narcissus girl's questions to enter her boudoir. Young master Chang Sun passed her test, so she invited him in. Wang Jinghuai glowered at Qing Xiu, young master Chang Sun, can you give me this opportunity instead? If you do, all this gold on the ground is yours. Qing Xiu coldly said, you think money lets you do whatever you want? I refuse your offer. Wang Jinghuai displeased, young master Chang Sun, aren't you a bit rash? This is 1,000 taels of gold. Even Lord Changsuan's salary is only a few hundred guan. Chang Sun Ching Xiu coldly snorted, if I'm rash, what can you do? Chang Sun Chong lives by his own code, we don't explain to others. If you're not satisfied, I Chang Sun Chong will continue. Speak again, I will break your dog's leg. With that, Chang Sun pushed embroidery madam upstairs, leaving abruptly. Downstairs, Chang Sun Chong looked bewildered, mouth hanging open, unsure what to say next.
Did you enjoy the story, guys? I hope you did. Support this video with a like and a comment. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for watching and see you next time.